Welcome back here to the Gill Connections Podcast. So humble to be your host, Mike Cunningham, National Business Development Manager for Gill Athletics, but probably better known as the podcast guy or, even the Twitter guy. Although I heard something about Twitter the other day, I thought this made a lot of sense. Someone said they were going to start calling it X, and I have pushed back on that, but they said it's not Twitter anymore. Ever since, who took over it and what it's become and all that kind of stuff, it's not Twitter, it's X. And that kind of resonated with me. But I continue to be on that platform because while there might be more negativity than normal since whatever happened there, I'm going to continue to be a positive light for you, the track and field coach. And that's what we're going to do today. I want to hop into it because I have known this guy, excuse me, for a while. I love him. I actually know a little bit about his story. It's amazing. And I want to hop right into it. Help me welcome assistant coach from the University of Arkansas there in Fayetteville. I almost said North Carolina. Wow. Arkansas.
That
I
would have been
should
good.
know this being a former SEC guy myself. Help me welcome the wise, the wonderful Mr. Rob Jarvis. Rob, welcome to
Aw-
the podcast.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.
You are in Fayetteville, Arkansas, not North Carolina. At least at Fayetteville, North Carolina exists. Like it's an actual real place, I guess. But
Correct.
but
Yes.
there's no calling of the hogs in North Carolina. I know that for a fact.
Right.
how you,
Exactly.
how you been, man? I haven't caught up with you in a while.
No, good. Just riding the high still from indoors, just trying to pivot now to the outdoor season. Like we were joking before we started recording, just dealing with a little bit of weather in here in Fayetteville. But other than that, just trying to get the guys to recalibrate and set up for the outdoor season.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, congratulations, man. I
Thank
mean,
you.
a lot of transition this season as well, which we'll talk about
Yep.
for a lot of reasons, not just on the
Right.
head side, but you as well, my friend.
Right.
And but boy, I tell you, one thing is consistent in Arkansas, and we don't want to take it for granted, but winning is consistent in Arkansas. But I tell you what, it's easy to think, oh, anybody could be in those seats, and it's Arkansas, you'll win. Pff, bruh, it
Right.
takes coaching first and foremost, and that's what
Right.
Arkansas has been able to attract over the years is great
Right.
coaches that have done some great things. So
No, I
again,
appreciate that.
congratulations. Yeah, absolutely,
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, man, let's hop into this, man. What we do here is we started this almost 7 years ago, right before COVID started. It's amazing to uplift and
Sure.
honor your journey. And you have definitely had an amazing journey, one that we're interested in exploring some more. So, my
Of
first
course.
question to you, my friend, is somewhere, assuming you were an athlete, and we never want to assume because we've had plenty of great coaches here
Right.
that have had, that become amazing coaches that weren't athletes. But assuming maybe track was in your life, where in the world does track and field start for you?
So for me, gosh, track actually didn't start until I was in high school. Excuse me. So for those that don't know, born and raised Southern California, just outside Los Angeles. For those that are familiar with Mount Sac, I
Mhm.
grew up in Covina, California, so right over the hill. So track was always the thing. I actually grew up playing baseball. And then, like most kids in the 90s that grew up in California, football was king, is king, arguably.
Right.
Um, to get to your question, I started running track my freshman year in high school at Covina. I ran for Kevin Glaspie and Coley Candell. So Coley Candell's now at Vista Murrieta, known. I joke with Michael Norman that I was his guinea pig. So we can get back to that at some other point.
Yeah.
But between KG and Coach Candell, they took care of me for those 4 years. And so, like I mentioned, football. Coach Dick Sheen was our football coach at the time, out there scouting the freshmen running, and there was a little bit of beef between baseball and track because I was a two-sporter. So for those that don't know, in California, baseball games are on Wednesday and Friday. Track dual meets are on Thursday, and invitationals are on Saturday. About
Oh,
season comes through, we finish. I was on varsity for track, obviously cross for baseball. Baseball coach comes down and tells us like, look, you guys have to make a decision. You're either running track or you're playing baseball. Uh, Coach Sheen was within earshot. He's like, I'll make this really easy for you guys. You're running track. We're going to win the CIF title. And we're like, yes, coach. And so literally so I was the starting X as a sophomore. I was right field. Starting center fielder was the Z. Starting left fielder was running back. And then basically the 4x1 was potentially four starters for that team.
right.
So needless to say, baseball coach lost that game of chicken.
What
So,
that's amazing to me. First of
right,
all, I always wonder when someone is a baseball and track guy, I'm always like, I mean, how? I mean, they're the both same season and both take up a lot
right,
of time. I never knew that about Wednesday, what'd you say, Wednesday, Friday, Thursday, Saturday.
correct.
So that's interesting. But why? I mean, here's what's interesting to me is we have arguments today, 2026, that we think are new arguments
Right,
and one here is multi-sport athletes, and yet
Hmm.
here we are. What year did you graduate high school? So we kind of,
1997.
yeah, here we are back in the
1997.
'90s,
Right.
where it was like you're still having the same discussions. There are still people, and
Yep.
by the way, I'm not uh, taking track coaches out of this. I know some track coaches that are like, you run track, you only run track, and it's like, guys,
Right.
especially in high school,
Hmm.
we're talking about kids. What are we doing here? That just seems
Right.
ridiculous. And
Yeah.
in this case, he lost. Yeah.
No, he lost. And to his credit, um, his rationale was he didn't think it was fair to the rest of the baseball team that we were off at a track meet while the rest of the team was practicing. So I'll give him a little bit of a
Yeah, but
pass,
okay, I'm not smart enough
but
to remember or know, but there's that
mhm,
cartoon that talks about it's like the three people that are behind the fence, and one of them is an example of equity, one of them is the example of fair, and one is the example of
sure,
equality or something like that. And it's
right,
like, yeah, okay, maybe I can get that, but it's not like we're letting you have the days off. You're still
correct,
working, and you're
100%,
working for our school. It's not even like, oh, well, he's doing a part-time job, but guys, we need
right,
him out in the outfield in the back. Come on, it's like, no,
right,
he's still representing the high school. He's still we're an athletic
sure.
department, not a bunch of
Mhm.
little different departments. Yeah.
Correct. Like,
That's
yeah, it's not compartmentalized. No, it was Bunneman. So that was the summer going into my 10th grade year. So that summer, back when old school was okay, so I don't know how much I should go into this, but I was one of two sophomores on the varsity football team.
hmm
This was back when it was okay to where the new guys carried all the ball bags,
Oh
carried all the water
yeah.
jugs, and I started. You know what I mean? But that was the old school rite of passage.
Right.
So we debate
Right.
that for another time.
Right.
So long story short, the football team went on to go. We lost in the semifinals by a point to the eventual
Wow.
champion. The next year we came back. We went 14-0, won the championship, and then my senior year, we lost in the first round. So all that being said, I think if my memory serves me correctly, we were 33, 3-1 in those three seasons.
Holy cow.
And then from those teams, it's been a long time now, God, it's 30 years, but there was plus or minus 10 guys that ended up playing Division I football,
Wow.
two guys that got drafted in the MLB draft, and then two actually went on to play in, not they didn't weren't big roles, but they ended up playing in the NFL. So pretty good guys to be surrounded by.
Dude, holy cow.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
And and the fun fact for those who, well, Michael laugh, you've met me. For
Mhm.
those that have not met me, I'm all of 5'9". Back then,
Yeah.
I was still all of 5'9". You might find a program or two that said I was 5'10", 185, which is not accurate. I might have been 160 pounds soaking wet back then.
Right, right,
So
right.
I ended up signing a scholarship, ironically, to play football at San Diego State.
Is that right?
So
All right, hold on
yeah,
there for me real quick. Because
sure.
what I'm always interested in with our guest or track coach, like it's a little bit
Mhm.
of a spoiler. We know what you become. You become a track
Or
coach.
yeah, right.
I'm curious as a 14, 15, 16-ish, 17-year-old kid,
Yeah.
whatever, as you're doing track, and it might have been other sports too, football, etc.
Mhm.
When you think back, when you look back now, were you the kind of kid, like, were you in the coach's office all the time? Hey, so why did we do that workout? And why did you have us do this after that? Or, and because I have a lot of grace for high school
Sure.
kids, were you just coach told me to run, so I shut up and ran, and I didn't
Okay.
think about it.
So I purposely did this. One, I know it's a little bit douchey. I brought the trophy, obviously had to do it.
Love it.
Next to it, you can see my old vanity plate from
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
California.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's an
yeah.
acronym, and this is perfect for the story. And this
Okay,
is even set up. So RFTL is an acronym for run fast, turn left, 400 meters.
got it.
I was once upon a time I was a quarter miler.
Yeah.
Rewind back to 1995-ish.
Okay.
Um, Imagine an arrogant 14-year-old thinking that he's fast back then.
Sure.
For the track nerds, I'm the same class as Obi Moore and
Oh
the
yeah.
McCullough brothers and
Yeah.
the Kelly brother, all those guys. So it's that
Yeah.
era.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Um,
right. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we are at the old Pasadena games. For those that are old school track, that was like the big relay meet. I think it's before Arcadia. And back then, you got to realize people only knew people's names. There was no social media. So you walk up and you just see a uniform. Anyway, long story short, I was running the 100 and the 200, and Coach Kendall, I'll never forget. I think I ran 10-7 as a sophomore and 21 mid, which was good back then.
Yeah.
Not as fast as those guys, but it was good
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
And
That's
another fun
good. Yeah.
fact,
Yeah. Yeah.
we'll get back to that. And he's like, Jarvis, that was pretty good, man. You ever thought about running a 400? I was like, absolutely not. There's no way.
I've thought about
He's
it, not doing it.
yeah, and I'm like, coach, I play football. He's like, I know. He's like, but then the reverse psychology came in. He's
Oh,
like,
that's funny.
but you football players are tough, man. You're telling me you can't sprint a whole
Yeah.
lap?
Wow.
I'm like, of course I could sprint a whole lap. What are you talking about? He's like, well, I don't know, man. Those guys look pretty athletic. And I'm like, and I got pissed. I was
Shut
like,
up. This is awesome.
I'm like, Kendall, are you serious? He's like, yeah, I don't think you can sprint the full lap. And I'm like, bullshit. I'm like, sorry. I'm like,
You're good.
when can I do it? He goes, he's like, well, you just ran the two. He's like, the 4x4 is in an hour and a half. Do you think that's enough time for you to recover? I'm like, for sure. He's like, okay, cool. He's like, you're going to lead off the 4x4 in the varsity section. I'm like, okay, great. Didn't
I'll
think
show
anything about it.
you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. Time gets closer and closer and closer. I'm like, how in the hell do I run a 400? And so I'm asking the guys, and the older guys are laughing because it's just they're like, Jarvis, you're just arrogant. Like
Can't wait.
you deserve all of this. This is gonna be the funniest thing ever. And so Kendall sees me like almost full panic before the we're getting the blocks, and he's like, just set your blocks up like the two. He was right by the fence.
Mhm.
I'm like, how do I run this thing? He's like, just run fast and turn left twice. And hence the
Yeah.
vanity plate. So anyway, so for
So,
my
so you're very
L
much as a kid, you were very much a man. Coach says
go.
turn left, I turn left. If he says run quarter repeats, I do quarter repeats. Tells me run probably 30. What?
Right.
Yes, sir, coach. Yeah, yeah. But
Yep.
I have a lot of respect for that because we might need that a little
It's
bit
a little
more on our.
different.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
little
yeah.
different now. A little different now.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't
yeah.
know. I don't know if that's true, but certainly kids have
But
more access to information. You didn't have social media to see
right,
what
for sure.
Obia and those guys were doing over there. You didn't necessarily
Right,
have that.
right.
But I think kids are either naturally curious
Mhm.
from the get-go and they want to know what the heck, why are we doing this? And then I think other kids are just like, man, you the coach,
Right.
dog. I listen to you no matter what you say. You say run through that
Well,
brick wall, we gonna do it.
him and KG are the same. So Coach Glassby are the same. Where it's like I remember my freshman year. So for those not from California, I know I'm told by us, California is I think the only state or one of the only states in the country that it's a true state champion once you get to the end.
I should know that because I actually interviewed one coach from every state. Why am I miss? I feel like New Jersey could be considered that because they have a
So they
media
know they
champs,
have a
but they
media
don't.
champions, but it's not a
They,
true
it's not a
ending.
team. Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
So oh,
Michigan does what they call a true team state championship. So they have a regular, what you would recognize as
uh-huh.
a regular state championship with many different classes, and then
Right.
they have a where I think it's like maybe it's 32 roster, but like literally 32 roster, and they have
Hmm.
meets, and like all 32
Right.
move on, not just the people who got first or
Gotcha.
second or whatever. Yeah, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah,
Anyway,
but
so I'll
California
try
is
to parse it
definitely unique. Yeah, yeah.
different. So I'll brag. So Southern section, people argue. I'm not even trying to make this a Texas, Florida, California debate. So for those of you punching the
Mhm.
screen or yelling at me, time out for 1 second. So in Southern section at the time, I think there's still four divisions.
Mhm.
So let me back up. So there you go from your league meet, which
Mhm.
is just your local schools. From there, you qualify to your division prelim meet, which is the
Mhm.
following week.
Mhm.
From the division prelim week, the next week is what's called CIF finals. So throughout the state of California, each respective section has their CIF finals, which all the divisions. The top nine for the race for running events, top 12 for field, then move on to what's called the masters meet.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
for the track nerds out there, you can argue that the CIF Southern Section Masters meet is probably one of the better track meets in the country
We
for
had
a state championship.
JT Ayers from Tribeco Hills was our
Hmm.
California representative, and like that one I distinctly remember because I remember him explaining this all to me.
Hmm.
And I know I'm not the brightest guy in the world, but I was like, I'm just not like I don't understand why you do that and why you do that and why do you have the masters in there? Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And he was of the section, maybe it's the same section you're talking about, where they actually have to have
Yeah.
an extra round because of the size or something.
Correct. That's
It's
why.
crazy.
So in Southern Section, because of the density of the population, I think so it's basically LA and Orange County. So anyone looks at
Hmm.
the map can just see what that is.
Hmm.
So for already at that track meet, that's the fourth week in a row that you're racing and you're not even to the state championship yet.
Yeah, that stood out to me too. I was like, dude, your whole
Right.
season is a playoff. Like you're every
Correct.
yeah. I do remember
Right.
that. Hmm.
Yeah. So now okay. So back in my day, I'm the uncle now. So back in the 90s, in order to qualify for state at the Masters meet, you had to be top five. Now I mentioned those guys I was running against.
Right.
So needless to say,
Right.
I never made the California. So nowadays you can be top five or hit the standard at the meet and
Hmm.
advance.
Hmm.
Back then it
Hmm.
was top five only. So for me,
Yeah.
I ran uh 47.9, 21.15, and never saw the state championship meet.
Yeah. Right.
Hence me taking a football scholarship. I was never
Yeah.
recruited for track.
Did you like you understand it now because you're an
Hmm.
adult and you look back when you were 16, 17 years old, did you understand? And what I mean by understand, not like, man, I ran
Hmm.
47 and didn't need to make it. Like, did you understand like, okay, so the next meet is this and we got to qualify here. You got to do like, did you understand it? Or was it just like, all right, it's the next meet. I need to run as fast as possible. And coach will tell me if I get to the
Yeah,
next one.
great question. I understood it because of football. Because for us, for football, we knew
Is it
the
similar
rounds.
ish?
I mean, well, because you got to think round one is 1 week, round two is the next week, semifinals. So I
Okay.
thought
So
of it
you
as
got
this,
that. Mm-hmm.
it's like
Mm-hmm.
you got to qualify for the next week type of a
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
like I'm sure most track coaches on here will know, like Coach Kendall and KG would always say, get the big Q, don't mess with the
Mm-hmm.
little Q.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a
Mm-hmm.
whole other topic.
Yep.
But so from a pretty early time, even though
Yeah.
my freshman year of high school was my first year of track, I understood that immediately. It's
Yeah.
just like you need to do X to get here.
That makes sense because most track is one meet and then you go to state. Some are
Right.
two, but California is like 20, and then maybe
Yeah.
a handful get to go to state. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So senior year,
Hmm.
you're thinking about college and things like that. So talk to us
Yeah.
about in this next section here, kind of what were you looking at? You already told us where you went, and but why
Yep.
football over track and all that kind of stuff. But also,
Yes.
what were you thinking as a 17-year-old? What were you thinking like, oh, I'm going to go study X because I'm going to become Y?
Great question. Okay, I'll start with the first part. So, as I just mentioned, I was not recruited at all for track, and
At all? Wait, did you say
at all.
you said you were like 47?
Yeah,
And there's a
not
billion
all.
schools just in California. Really?
Right. And so the thing was, I think so. I didn't run 47 until my senior year. I think I ran 48 mid as an 11th grader. But you got to remember, recruiting was different back then. Couldn't talk to 11th graders. It was mostly just based off of your senior year. So I was a
Sure.
really late bloomer as far as that's concerned. And I'm trying to think what else. So to your point, with our football team being so good, it wasn't that track was overshadowed. It was just the mind was always football. So back then we were still limited to 5 visits. So other cool random stories. So the 5 schools that recruited me for football, I mentioned San Diego State.
Hmm.
They were the only school that recruited me to play wide receiver. As I mentioned, I wasn't that big. Everyone
Hmm.
recruited me to play defensive back. So I was all CIF for both, but I was recruited as a
Wow.
wide receiver, but I hated hitting. So
Yeah, sure. I get it.
um, UCLA recruited me to play defensive back. Rocky Long was the defensive coordinator at the time then. Um, Wisconsin recruited me to return kicks, and they hadn't decided on what side of the ball. But the
Hmm.
cool part there was Heisman Trophy winner Ron Dane was my host on that trip. And off the record, kids, if you're watching, I got into every single bar in Madison with my high school ASB card. I didn't even have a driver's license at the time. So that trip was an absolute blast. And then was also recruited by TCU and Cal. But Steve Mariucci took over at Cal at the time. They were recruiting me as a wide receiver, and I remember the phone call. He's like, Jarvis, I know you're fast. I know you can catch. I've seen your stats. He's like, you're too short to play in my offense.
All right.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And the same thing with USC. USC invited me out for a camp, and I love telling this one. I show up. I forget the receivers coach's name, but they mentioned all the guys I was on the team with. They're like, "Hey, which one of you guys is Jarvis?" I was like, "It's like, oh, you look a lot taller on tape." And that
I
was
know
the
he was just
last
like,
time.
oh,
I was
you
like, "Oh,
son
that
of
sucked." Yeah, so that was the last time I talked to. And side note, I can't say it now, but I grew up a total SC diehard. So
a.
we can get into my coaching journey in a little bit. So the
Yeah.
irony of me coaching at UCLA for as long as I did
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah.
lost on me.
Rob, I've known you for years now, decades plus now.
Yep.
I don't think I knew you were this athletic. I mean, I knew you were an
The,
athlete. I mean,
the exterior doesn't match the
well,
history, but
I
yeah.
mean, you don't look like me where, I'm 100 pounds over everything. But it's like, I mean, but
Mhm.
you got some legit stats here, brother, and legit recruits. Like, I mean,
Right.
that's a very, finite group of people who get to be recruited by those type of schools who get to run those
Mhm.
kind of times.
Right.
That's very impressive, my friend.
No, and that was the thing too, going back then, and this is again going way back. I mean, my best electric 40 was I ran really legit 4.35, but again, not being that tall. So
Yeah.
going back to everything, I love telling this part of the story too. So San Diego State had Wisconsin on on their schedule the first 2 years. So I will never forget. So without getting into family drama, that's a whole other thing. I wanted to go to Wisconsin because and the whole other thing. But looking back, I think it would have been 2 Big Ten titles, a couple Rose Bowl rings. Obviously, as
Yeah. So that was
mentioned,
a
Ron
good
Dane.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and no, but all that being said, it was that for some reason just want to be in California, stay closer to
Yeah.
home and that whole sort
I,
of thing. And it kind of works
I've
itself out. You know what I mean?
known a lot of Californians, and it is one of the few states, and I don't even get this from Texas and Florida people, but Californians that migrate away from California,
Yeah.
there's a magnet, there's a pull to get back to California. It's really
Right.
it's an original
Well,
for me in that.
yeah. And like you were saying too, it was just the weather thing. I'll never forget. I got off that airplane in Madison
Sure.
in jeans, a t-shirt, and my Leatherman jacket, and it was snowing.
All right.
I'm like, what the heck? And so the coaches are just, they do the tour with the equipment room, all the stuff, and then gloves and sleeves. I'm like, coach, like, what's this? They're like, you don't use sleeves or gloves? I'm like, no, man, I play in Southern California. Like, well, I never forget. It was Coach White was the offensive coordinator. I don't know where he's at now, but he's like, no gloves, no love. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cheesy, but
It's
whatever.
cheesy.
And then the next year, so fast forward the next year, I signed San Diego State, go there. And you guys have seen Madison at that time, those things. I will never forget. I remember coming out of the tunnel with the team for warmups, and I stopped. And it was like imagine like a chained, not like a chain link fence, but something metal covering like where the team
Hmm.
comes out.
Hmm.
I'm assuming beers and just crap just
Hmm.
flying
Hmm.
through as we're coming in. And I remember stopping there. I just remember a hand in my back just to go. And it was just blown away. I'm like, oh my God, this is what real football is like. Because no offense, don't get me wrong, love San Diego State, but
Yeah.
Qualcomm only had like 40,000. This place had something like 80, and you couldn't hear a thing.
Dude, I grew up in Alabama and, grew up an
Right.
Auburn fan, but now a Troy University fan, obviously, since I went to school there. But I
Mhm.
now live here in Champaign. My wife is an Illinois grad, so we've gone to
Right.
games, things like that. I was blessed to be invited up to Wisconsin for a football game
Hmm.
by the guy who did the cross country facility there.
Hmm.
And it was a night game versus Army, I think was that first game. And I remember like, like just looking around, like they have so many amazing traditions that they do, the different
Oh yeah.
songs, of course, jump around, things like
Jump
that.
around. Exactly. I was like, what is going on?
Dude,
Yeah.
I remember telling my wife, I was like, hey, I know you went to school at Illinois and all that, but we got to get back up for a game.
Right.
And actually, a year or two later, I went to the Oregon at Wisconsin game, and Oregon was number one, and Wisconsin almost knocked them off. But
Yeah.
it's a little
It's
different
a different
culture.
thing.
It really
Yeah.
is.
And it was cool, like walking into their facility. I mean, you know me, I don't mind giving love to other
Hmm.
schools where you walk in a football facility, their big rivalry is the Paul Bunyan Trophy. And you
Hmm.
see
Hmm.
this giant axe. Like when
Hmm.
you walk in the football building, Coach Alvarez was the head coach at the time before he was the AD.
Right.
And I remember just sitting in his office, I think it's his lake house, and talking to him. He's like, can we get you out of California? I'm like, I think so, coach. And then took the San Diego State trip, and it was, anyway, it's
Yeah.
all history now.
So, what were you thinking about as a 17-year-old? I'm
Mhm.
not hearing necessarily that you're thinking, yep, I'm going to be a coach. What were you thinking you were
Yeah.
going to be as a 17-year-old?
Oh, so that was the second part of the question. So, my parents were divorced when I was pretty young. My stepdad was a pretty successful businessman. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
other side tangent, side quest, if you will. So, I grew up. I wouldn't say I grew up in military families. Both my dad and stepdad had served, but my stepdad was a defense contractor. So, mom and stepdad lived on Long Island. For the people familiar with the military, Grumman was based out of Long Island. So, I grew up watching F-14s, F-18s,
Yeah.
E3s fly around. So my weird uh, fascination was actually I wanted to be a fighter pilot.
Yeah.
So another quick side story. So my 10th grade year, I believe it is, actually explored looking at the Naval Academy.
Wow.
Had a congressperson ready to write the
Hmm.
letter,
Hmm.
and then we started winning football games. And so
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
stopped. But
W-
if you think
We,
about the timeline, I graduated high school in 97.
yeah.
I would have graduated the academy in summer of '01
Right.
and been in flight school right before 9/11. So I would have been a busy
Oh,
person. Yeah. So think about
right.
that. So how
Right.
different of a, yeah.
Don't
Anyway.
don't take this the wrong way. I
Mhm.
love you as this. At 5'9", could you have been a fighter pilot? And what I mean by that is I know they're very strict, eye
No.
has to be 20/20, all those
So
kind of things. I know
no.
they
So
have
20.
requirements.
Yeah. So height was fine. Eyesight was perfect.
Okay,
I
okay,
used to have
okay.
20/12. So,
Yeah,
and
yeah, 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 yeah.
I
Okay.
literally, and the cool part about my stepdad being a contractor, I had access to old old floppy disks.
Uh-huh.
I could fly a F-16 when I was like 12. Start the whole thing up, do the whole deal.
Interesting.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. So that was up my, I literally probably had thousands of
Yeah.
flight hours in flight simulators.
I know they're just very strict. When I was Air Force RTC scholarship
Hmm.
winner, and when I did my physical for that, my eyesight was like 20/40 or something. It wasn't terrible at that
Yep.
point. And I just remember the guy saying, "Well, can't be a pilot." And I was like, "Well, good thing I guess I didn't want to be that." But
Yeah.
thanks,
Yep.
buddy. I appreciate that. I just knew they were
Yeah.
strict. That's why I was just asking.
No, okay,
Uh,
it's actually a height limit. You can't be too tall. I don't know what it is, but
oh, that actually makes more
yeah,
sense because
yes.
there is a yeah. They ain't
Right.
redesigned the plane for you, Mister 6'4". Yeah,
Exactly.
right. Yeah,
Exactly. So
that's a
yeah,
good
so
point.
exactly. So yes, that was my thing. So just thinking back how different
Yeah,
my life would have
wow.
been on the global
Yeah.
war on terror on that side. But
Yeah. So
yeah,
were
here
you
we are in the
like
tech.
a like were you a like a nerd about these things? Like did you have the Lego jets and stuff like that? The
No, it was
models and stuff or just
yeah, it did have model planes. That was one thing my
yeah,
Opa and I
yeah.
did as planes. We build them like glue and paint and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But no,
Mm-hmm.
the taking it way back, Top Gun came out when I was 8, the original one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've watched that movie hundreds of times. So,
Absolutely.
so that was the whole thing. So, and then, like I mentioned, spent a lot of time in San Diego before even San Diego State. So very familiar with Miramar, and
Right.
just in the summers I would spend in New York on Long. So their house is on the North Shore of Long Island. So we'd be sailing around Long Island Sound and just see F-14s. I'm like, I want to do
Uh,
that. So that's how I kind of that whole
do,
thing.
do you still get geeked up? Like Virginia Beach has hosted D1, D2,
Yep.
and D3 nationals, and they're,
Mhm.
Norfolk's right there. So the Jets are just
Yep.
constantly. Do you like when nationals is there? Do you just like look like,
That's a funny question. So, one of the good buddies of mine from San Diego State, from our fraternity, Sigma Chi out there, he actually, his dad was flight commander at Miramar, and he ended up going to flight school. He flew F-18s for years, and he was stationed there before he's flying for FedEx now. So when I saw those F-18s peeling off and peeling in, I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool.
that's my
But
dude? Yeah.
other fun fact, or for those that don't know, some people call Fayetteville Vietnam because
Yes.
of Drake Airfield, because of the short airfield thing. So, for those that don't know, this is the touch and go spot for the F-35s out of Fort Smith. So they're peeling around here all the time.
Is
It's
that
funny you say
right?
that.
I don't think I
Yeah.
ever
So,
knew that. Yeah.
yeah. So it just I don't know how new it is, but like last year, for example, when we were chartering to SECs, there was a two-ship F-35 just literally buzzing our charter as we're boarding and doing touch and goes. I'll send you the video offline. It was actually pretty cool.
Yeah. So you
So we were
geeked
still
out about
geeking out.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, we
yeah,
were geeking out about that. So yeah, for sure. No, I love airplanes. And then the other thing is the kids are laughing at me because, as you can imagine, there's a lot of air traffic through this way. If you look up, you see a lot of contrails and that sort of thing for DFW, because we're about a 40-minute flight from
yeah.
DFW.
Right, right.
Like, I have Flight Aware and Flighty on my phone. I'm like, anyone want to guess where that flight's coming? Oh yeah, it's great. And so you can see
I
where they're coming from
love
and all that stuff.
that.
So anyway,
You
so
are
it's
a
the weird
nerd.
random
I love that,
total,
dude. I
total,
love
total,
that.
total.
I
Yeah.
love that. I'm
Yeah.
always trying to get past the veneer of a coach.
Oh yeah.
First of all, to get to Rob, not Coach
Right.
Jarvis, Rob. And then
Oh,
I'm
for
like, what
sure.
are you a dork about? What are you? We all have
Oh
something. I love that, dude. That's so
no.
cool, man.
It's
That's
hilarious.
really neat.
And those that I've crossed paths with, you guys know, I don't talk at track meets unless
Right,
it's
right.
my athletes or people. It's a totally different thing, and I can't tell you. I can say it about myself. People are like, man, I thought you were just a total d head, but you're like normal outside of
Yeah,
track. I'm like, I'm
yeah.
working. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
all good.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. That's a
Right.
good lesson about not judging people based on what you see at any
Right.
one certain time. Okay, so you
For
were thinking
sure.
about going into business then because of
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
or
Yeah.
stepfather.
So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yep.
Go to San Diego State. Beautiful, beautiful. I mean, it's just beautiful.
Yep.
San Diego State's amazing. San Diego's amazing.
Right.
You played football. Any track come up during college?
So good question. So, as most know, track ended at San Diego State mid '80s.
That's right.
So after two concussions and a knee surgery in 2 years, I was like, this is not for
Oh
me. Yeah.
no.
So, I took 2 years and had an awful lot of fun at the Sigma Chi house.
Welcome to San Diego State. Yeah.
You welcome San Diego. Welcome to like live the San Diego State experience for a little bit.
Yeah.
So, at that point, so this was now,
All right, hold on.
sure.
Because we can do this as adults, as 40, almost 50-year-old
Hmm.
people. We let things become our identity. In fact, that's one of the things I push back a lot is coaches making coach their number one identity. It's like, dude,
Oh,
you are a son, a brother, maybe a
right,
husband, wife. Those are way more important than coach. As
right.
a 20-year-old, I mean, it's
Hmm.
almost like, well, of course that's your identity. You're a football player. You're at San Diego State.
Right.
You have this is extremely interesting to me
Hmm.
about I'm curious you lose the ability to play football because of concussions and
Oh,
knee and things like that.
right.
How did that? I mean, that was your identity. You were Rob the football
Oh,
player. How did that? How
it
did you process that?
it I just got goosebumps talking about it. Like,
Mm,
I'll be honest, it took me probably 4 or 5 years to watch a
sure,
football game,
sure.
just because it was like my peers, my friends I saw playing. Not that I was
Yeah,
upset with them, but it's like that's your life. You know
yeah.
what I mean? And so, yeah, like I said, had fun at San Diego State, and then took full advantage of the NAIA rules. I went and talked to Coach Sheffield. I'm like, hey, I should probably graduate from college. I'm thinking about getting back into running. My little brother's running at UC Irvine for Ben Caesar back when he was there at the time. I'm like, you know
Oh,
what? Let me,
Ben. Oh, that's a name I
yeah,
haven't thought about in a
exactly.
while.
So yeah, I'll see him in a couple weeks at my brother's memorial and this whole other thing. But
He won't remember me, but tell him I said hi. I remember him from
I will.
Drake and
Yeah.
Lolo and Asics
Mhm.
and just haven't caught up with him since
No, I
Nike and
will.
beyond. Yeah, just
Yeah, I'll see him out there for
yeah,
Mount Sac. My brother's
yeah.
memorial is that Tuesday for Sac. But
Okay, yeah.
yeah, so the what's it called? Yeah, so talked to Coach Sheffield. He's like, well, how good were you? And I told him. He's like, oh, call Coach Alice, call Chris Asher. Fullerton. Chris Asher was at Fullerton at the time.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he goes, I don't know where you're at on your clock, but he's like, there's a place called Azusa Pacific. And in my mind, I'm like, hard no. I'm from Covina. I'm not going to Azusa Pacific.
Is that right? That was kind
So
of the culture. Like it was a like no, you don't want to go
yeah,
there.
yeah, it was weird because it was just because I was contrary to what you said before. I always wanted to go back home, or I always thought I wanted to go back home. And then
Hmm.
when it got to that point, I'm like, I'm good enough where I could have spread my wings and actually gone and done something.
Hmm.
So as part of in my mind, I was dealing with I'm a failure. I
Hmm.
didn't complete the
Hmm.
football journey.
Hmm. Hmm.
Not that track was a fallback. I really wasn't known for track and field.
Hmm.
But then I'm like, okay, well, I kind of need to have a degree to earn a living.
Hmm.
So let me figure this out. So I remember I called Coach Alice and he broke the news. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, you might be able to transfer 60 credits
Right.
and you're now on year 5 or 4.5 or 5. He's like, I'd love to have you, but thanks, but no thanks.
Right.
Called Asher. Asher told me the same thing. He's like, you need to go talk to Kevin Reed. And I'm like, okay, cool. So tracked Coach Reed down and I'll never forget it. He hates when I tell this story. Um, he at the time their track offices for those that go to Azusa, there's an old basketball gym like right in the middle of campus, aside from where the track is at now that everyone knows for Brian Clay Invite. Um, I had met Kevin once or twice at a meet, but like most track coaches would be wearing hat, glasses, the whole deal, right? So I'll set it up. So I walk into Kev's office and doesn't have a hat on, and his back's turned, so his back's like this.
Right.
It's
Right.
a bald head dude.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I'm looking for Coach Reed. Is he here? He's like, yeah, hold on a second. And he goes like this. He's like, hi, I'm Coach Reed. How's it going? Who are you? and Mike Barnett's sitting right next to him and just laughing his ass off. And I'm like, oh, I'm Jarvis. He's like, oh yeah, nice to meet you. And then at the time, my GPA was terrible coming in from San Diego State, so had to take some classes at Mount Sac over the summer. And so this was now summer of '02. So
Hmm.
this is how far past. So um, went to school at Mount Sac in the summer. They were trying to get me admitted at APU in that fall of '02. And I don't know, I mean, I guess what do you call it? They can't get in trouble now. I trained with the whole team the full fall
Hmm.
while I was
Hmm.
going to school at Mount Sac, which I'm sure probably
Hmm.
was
Yeah.
not as,
Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, got me admitted mid-year, enrolled in spring of '03, and then I ran there. So I had 5 semesters left of eligibility. So time in the fall, so I could stretch out the 5 over 3 seasons. So I ran 3 seasons at Azusa.
Really?
Hmm.
Did you say were they? Did you say they were NAIA back then?
Back then
I
it was
don't
NAIA. So
think I
yeah,
remembered that. So Brian signed with them. I remember I recruited Brian when I was at Troy.
oh
I
yeah,
say
they were
recruited.
NAIA.
It was much
Hmm.
harder back in the day, but I remember he went to Azusa Pacific. They were NAIA.
Yep,
I don't think I realized that.
yep.
I think I just always had them as D2, like in my head,
Mm-mm.
uh,
Nope.
all the time. Wow, that's amazing. Well, I mean, because
Yeah,
Brian, I mean, Brian's an interesting story. You
right.
know,
We're the same age.
he was a
That's when he
stud
came
out of
in.
high school. There was not like, oh, he went
Oh,
to Azusa
that's
Pacific because he wasn't as
mhm,
good to go to wherever. It's like, no, bro, he was
right.
a stud, man.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a whole other conversation. I mean, shoot, I'll text Huffins right now because Huff was really big on getting him there and came back to
Yeah.
Berkeley and all of a sudden.
Is
But
that because Huff was training down there?
well, I think at the time he was still with Ed Miller, but I think he
Oh
was
yeah,
at Cal
yeah.
Berkeley at the time.
Yeah.
But I don't
Yeah.
think, well, Brian probably get mad at me for saying that. I don't think Brian would have gotten into Cal Berkeley,
Yeah.
much like I wouldn't have not
I was
gotten
gonna
into
say
Cal Berkeley. Yeah.
that's the majority of us. Yeah, bro. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so
It's no slam,
um
bro. Yeah.
yeah, so I don't remember what the whole evolution of it
Yeah.
was, but
But he
so
was a
Brian grad
qualifier. I remember that. Like it's not like
right.
it's not
No, no,
like
no.
he
He
had
was
limited amount
good.
of yeah, 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 yeah,
No,
yeah,
and
yeah.
the thing was that so obviously Brian's last year was my first. Sorry, Brian graduated or his last year eligibility was the summer I showed up, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
this kind of kicks off where my coaching journey sort of started.
Yeah.
So I mean, I had success at Azusa. I mean, won a couple national championship relay
Right.
teams, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I think. I'm not going to Google. I think I'm still in the top 10 for a couple things there.
Did you get back down into the 47 range? Because you
Hmm.
had some time
Yeah.
off. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
cool. Yeah, I love
And then I
that.
let off, both the relays. So,
Oh,
4x1, 4x4, and then back in the 400. Yep.
and you had a little bit more understanding of what to do on that lead off in the 4x4 compared to back in the
Correct.
day. Yeah,
Correct.
yeah. It
Exactly.
wasn't just run fast,
Exactly.
turn left. Like, oh, okay,
No,
there's a
for
little,
sure.
I hate to use the pacing word, but okay, there's some How about
Right.
this? Not pacing, there's strategy to how you run the
Exactly.
400.
Yeah.
Got it,
The
got it.
race modeling got a little bit
Good.
better
Yeah,
at
there
that
we go. Yeah, yeah,
time.
yeah. Good, good,
But
good, good, good. So
no, but it was
what did you
great.
get your degree in?
Business administration.
You did get business.
Yeah. And so that's another funny segue. So for those that don't know, Brian's manager was Paul Doyle. And
Hmm.
so I would intern for Paul in the summertime when he'd have Asafa Powell and Frano and their whole MVP group come to town.
Yeah,
I would drive them to Mount Sac relays. I'd drive the van, the whole thing. So and then Roman Sebrele and that whole group from Europe would come over and
yeah.
do warm weather training. So, so at that time, that's when Brian was coached by obviously
What?
Kevin.
Why were you doing that? And what I mean by that is, you're well, now you're at this point, you're 20.
I was like 23, I think
Yeah, I
22,
was gonna say
23.
23,
Yeah,
24. Yeah, yeah.
right. Yeah.
You could have like, yeah, I appreciate that, but I'm gonna go get a part-time job and make some money here, or
Yeah,
I'm trying to hang around the football office because that's really my love. Like, there
you're
had to be
right.
a reason why you're like doing, I'm gonna say grunt work, but doing the, hey, I need somebody to do this.
100%.
Can you do this? You know?
Fantastic question. So, my stepdad, rest his peace. His name's Bob Tramposh. He told me, and he's like, he'd call me Bob. I hated it, but he'd call me Bob. He'd
Yeah,
be like, Bob, um, the sport thing's gonna end. You're gonna need to figure out something that you love to do,
yeah.
because one day you're gonna have a wife and hopefully some kids and go on, and you're gonna need to support yourself because I'm not gonna be here forever to pay for all your shit. That's it. You
What
say,
a
I'm
smart
like,
dude.
so what he made me do. So let me back up a little bit. This is I haven't really talked openly about this. So San Diego State, I actually almost flunked out. So that's why. So I took
I
2 years off of
I
school.
think we got the
You kind of
picture on
assume that,
this.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it was bad. So between when I stopped at San Diego State and when I moved back to Los Angeles, I actually moved in with my own one of my grandparents, and Bob and my mom, they cut me off. They're like, "You've been spoiled. Like you've been taken care of. Like you need to figure this
Wow.
out."
Yeah.
So I paid for all my time at Azusa, so I'm still paying off my student loans. So that's a whole other
Yeah.
side note. But
Yeah.
but to your question, what he said was that yes, you want to be a business person. Yes, you want to work in that world. You need to figure out what you don't like, because if you invest your time into something you don't like, you're going to be miserable the rest of your life. And so each summer he made me, they didn't make me, he suggested, but they made me. So when I go to New York, I did a different internship back when temping was a thing. So
Yeah.
my first year I temped for Newsweek, which is it used to be one of the bigger newspapers
Hmm.
in New York, in their accounting department. And I'm an Excel aficionado, but
Hmm.
I knew I am not going to be an accountant. The the following summer, it was this good friend of mine, Nick Felter. He would intern every summer for Heineken and Amstel. So we would go up and down. He was in the Hamptons. We were in Dewey Beach. We had a good time. Let's just
Hmm.
put it that way. But I was like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna grow out of this at some point. Like, I don't want to work in food and beverage.
Hmm.
Like, who wants to go to a different bar every night of the week and be
Hmm.
like that
Hmm.
person? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So that was that.
Hmm.
So then fast forward to when 2005, Brian had already made his first team. He was silver in Athens in '04,
Hmm.
and I just saw it, and they would bring me to these meets, and I would literally, I joke, I was like, I would carry Brian's shoe bag. Like I've been some
Yeah.
of the coolest places in the world just being the shoe guy. And
So it's kind of like an intern, a tent, like, all right, let me try to see what this
yeah,
world looks like.
yeah.
Yeah.
And at the time, Paul was like, he's like, Jarvis, you ever thought about like the whole management world? I'm like, not really. He's like, well, you seem like you can talk to people, like you've done sales. Like, what did you think
Interesting.
about doing like being an agent? I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
let me think about this thing. Didn't really think about it. So then,
So not
uh,
coaching. I don't hear Paul's not saying,
no,
and Paul knows more coaches than I do for crying out loud.
right.
So he
Mhm,
sees that he's not, no one's coming to you. Your stepfather's
mm-mm,
not saying, hey man, you really love track. What about, it's
right.
more like agent business side of
Yeah,
it.
just relationship side of it. Yeah.
Interesting.
So I don't recall what meet it was. So my last year competing at Azusa was '05. I blew my hamstring to pieces at that Claremont McKinnon week, the week of Mount Right. I'll never forget. That was like my last race. And my one, if there is a regret, sprint coaches will laugh when I say this. I always wanted to break, I always wanted to run 20 point. I didn't care if it was 20.99.
Yeah, sure.
In that race, I remember coming off the turn, I had the lead, hamstring went, face down on the home stretch.
Mm,
I look up at the clock. The guy that won ran 2080 something, and I was like,
that was it.
so I had already qualified for NAIAs. I got the sympathy clap in Louisville my last race. I think I ran like 53 something around the track, and that was it. And so,
Yeah,
so to your question, that left a really bad taste in my mouth.
sure.
No offense to Coach Reed when what
Yeah.
we were doing or that sort of thing, but it was
Yeah.
just like the way my brain processes is like, and I know you said X's and O's. It's like, how could I have done this, or not to anyone, just more inward thinking, like, what could I have
Right.
done differently?
Right. Hmm.
What could have been different? We can get
Yeah.
back to that whole sort of thing.
You,
And so
you
then,
know what? You know what's interesting about that though is there's two ways. There's probably many ways, but two distinct ways you could have responded. One is how you responded. They're like, "Hey, what could I have done differently?" And
mhm,
maybe sometimes more of the majority is, what did he do? Why didn't he do the, finger pointing? You did actually the
mhm,
thumb point of like, what can I have
right,
done differently, whether it's sleep,
right,
diet,
mhm,
workout, whatever.
right.
Yeah, that's
Well,
interesting because that's what starts setting you up for the rest of your
correct.
life. Like that'll
And
be decisions you make for the rest of your life.
right. And this is actually going backwards. So back to my stepdad, Bob. One, so obviously the business acumen I learned from him and just watching him in the sales world. Um, he taught me how to play chess when I was 8 or 9.
Yeah.
So I've always been one, two, three, four, five, six. So it's always thinking steps ahead.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
obviously, and those of you that play chess and opening sequences and moves, okay,
Yeah.
if I did this, if I do X, Y,
Yeah.
anyway, for
Do
the
you
chess
still
people out
do you
there,
still play today?
not as much as I would like. It's
Do you
hard now with
have
the little kid.
do you have like an ELO? Is that what they call it?
I used to. I'd say
Yeah.
it's been years since I've
Yeah, yeah,
played,
yeah.
but I mean, online I was ranked pretty high. But
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what
So
I'm saying.
that's
A
one of
lot
those
of
things.
people. I
Yeah.
met this guy. I can't remember what industry he was in, but it was in some sports construction convention I was at, and they played online a lot,
Mhm.
and they have ELOs and all that kind of
Yep.
stuff, and then I'll see like in YouTube Shorts, I'll see what's the big chess guy Magnus.
Yep.
He's got this thing where he'll play. No, not even play. He'll a guy will come up and he'll ask certain questions of the guy, and then Magnus has to guess his ELO, and he's like, he's pretty good,
You
because he'll
could
say like.
tell, right?
Yeah, like how many hours you played? How many times you did this? Do you know what a blah 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 sequence is? And
Mhm.
he'll be like, you're about a 1400. I'm like, yep, 1350 or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
kind of
Yeah. So
interesting. Yeah.
no, and so that was like one of the for me in a weird way as a kid, because like I mentioned the flight simulators, and
Hmm.
my brother and I were in the video games,
I would
but it
have
was
to think being a pilot, having that chest of like, I can't just be in the moment. I got to think, okay, well, if that guy moves here, I
oh
got to move
yeah.
here. Like that's got to be pretty integral to being a successful
Mhm.
pilot. Yeah.
Right. And when it kind of gets into coaching too, and just like training theory
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
planning theory. So
Yeah.
we can get back to all
Yeah.
that,
Oh,
so
good
it's just
points.
so it's
Yeah.
going that way. So
Yeah.
now back to 2005. So I was my last year competing. I was hurt. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm about to graduate. What am I going to do with my life?
Hmm.
And Kev, to his credit, he goes, you see, so for context, we're at a track meet, and guy named Don Chavez, you guys all know Flash West, now retired. Scott Chavez's dad, he used to be
Mm-hmm.
the timer for Mount Sac relays.
Right.
He's like, I know you like making money. I know you don't want what you're doing. So anyway, long story short, I learned how to time. So I timed meets to make money for the next few years while I figured out what I was going to do with my life.
Really?
And yeah, so Don Chavez was the one that let me sit in the captain's chair at Mount Sac relays, and that was
Wow.
I used to help Mount Sac with all their high tech and all the other
How,
fun stuff.
how in the I mean, we're going to get there, but
Yeah.
like, how in the world do you become a coach? You are flirting with everything around our sport,
Right.
agency,
Hmm.
timing. What the
Yeah.
frick,
Literally.
man?
Literally.
You could be on this podcast right now going, "Hey, I've got Rob Jarvis. He's he owns Jarvis Timing Company."
Right. Right. No, I had the RFTL thing going for a bit, but there's a long
Uh,
running way. So now we're getting into closer to 2008. I was going to mention at the time. So Brian's coaches were Raina Ryder, Kevin Reed, and Mike Barnett. And so Raina would spend his summers from K State in Azusa
right.
in the mods, as the people know, which are basically trailers in the parking lot by the baseball field
Okay.
of Azusa. And finally, Raina goes, he's like, for those of you who know Raina, how he talks, like, what the F do you want to do with your life?
Yeah, that
He's like,
sounds like right.
he's like, clearly you like making money, but I can tell you have a good eye for coaching. Like, what are you going to do? He's like, you're
What
26.
made him say that?
Because I would ask him a lot of questions, because I was always at Brian's
Mm,
practices, and I was one of Brian. I could kind of say it. I used to rabbit a lot of his like workouts,
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
um, and so during the summer when everyone went home, I'd be at their practice. I wouldn't run the whole thing. Like, so if Brian had a 300 workout, I would pick him up at 200 and bring him around, and then
mm-hmm,
travel with
mm-hmm.
those guys. And so
Right.
I would just ask him questions. And finally, one day, he was just like, what do you want to do with your life? He's
Mm-hmm.
like, he goes, another name. He goes, all you guys do is you go to Pope's house, the Hebrew house, for the Hebrew house, shout out to Hebrew house. Um, all you guys do is play Halo. Um, you guys just go out and then you hang out at the track all day. He's like, what are you going to do with your life? And so that stuck. So I kind of let that go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're at the Olympic trials in Oregon. So it's now '08. He's now at, oh no, backwards. Anyway, at some point in this way, I'm like, you know what? I want to coach. And Rain is like, well, what do you want to coach? And in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, I played football. I thought I was a short sprinter. Coach Kendall would tell you I should have been a half miler, but there was no way I was running 2 laps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's like, well, let me save you about 10 years of heartache. He goes, our sport doesn't need another sprint coach. And he's like, you have a pretty good eye. Clearly you jumped. He's like, you're a fake decathlete. You can't even call yourself a decathlete. And fun fact, I only finished one deck my whole life. It was Mount Sac Relays,
Wow.
junior deck. Anyway, get back to that. He's like, you have a good eye. You should really learn how to coach the jumps in the combined events. He's like, you've been around with Brian, you've seen all this stuff. He's like, you're watching everything. You should go that route. Don't waste your time with the sprints.
When he said, what do you want to do? Like when you said, I'll be a track coach, were you saying that because like, I'm trying to think how to put this question. There are sometimes it's not 100% of the time in people's careers, whether it's coaching
Mhm.
or sales, whatever, where it's a click, where it's rarely that it's a click, that it's an off on
Mhm.
switch. It's usually a fader button,
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I kind of like that. Oh yeah, okay, wow, I'm a freaking track coach.
Yeah.
Um, were you saying that as in the context of like, well, I'm trying other things. Yeah, sure. I'd like to. Here's probably a better way of saying it, Rob. Were
Uh,
you saying, yeah, I want to be a track coach because you're like, yeah, I want to try to be like, I would like to try that? Or
mhm.
was it like, you know what? I've been flirting around with all this other stuff, bro. It's staring me right in my face. I'm supposed to be a track coach. Does that make sense?
So
Those two
yeah,
comparisons?
no, no,
Okay.
no, no, no. This is actually a really good setup because it's a good segue too. Um, I thought a track coach was all the cool crap I saw at
Of
the big
course.
international meets and the travel. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I get to go to Europe. I
Yeah.
get to go to these major championships. I get to this. I want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. That's
and
funny.
no, literally, that in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is all it is. I want to do this. So it was the path of least resistance in my mind. And little did I know that led to 7 years of being a volunteer assistant coach. And we can talk about all that stuff
Yeah.
too. So
Yeah.
yeah, so to your question, I was like, oh, this is easy. So now fast forward to
So you
2008.
you thought you were saying yes to what you thought the job, the role was,
Oh yeah, I'm just seeing these guys traveling.
and
This
that's
is
part
awesome.
of that can be part of the role, but
Right.
that's not the majority of the role, and that's not majority
No,
of our roles. Yeah.
no. And the credit for think about it. I was had the opportunity to be around Paul and all the amazing athletes he's had over the
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
I mean, with Brian, and he was at the top of his game pre Ashton Eaton. And so I'm
Hmm.
like around all these rocks, and I'm like, man, this is awesome. I want to do this. Ironically, today's April Fool's, like literally April
Yeah.
Fool's, dude. That's not how it works.
That makes
So
me
now,
wonder about
mhm,
these awesome programs,
right,
Arkansas being one of them, Florida's, Texas's, USC's,
right,
all these great
your
programs.
destination schools,
Well, what I'm thinking is like the ones where like this happens, if you're at
mhm,
USC, Q is your coach for crying out loud.
right,
You're at Arkansas, you've got a lot of elites that are there still after
hmm,
graduating. And, what's the sprinter you just had? Anthony Johnson? Is that his last name?
Jordan Anthony,
Jordan Anthony. I knew I was going to get that wrong.
hmm,
Jordan, graduates one year, then the next year he's world indoor and he's still there training. And I know he's not there,
right,
he's with Lance,
nice,
um,
yep,
but I wonder if that, because the majority of people on those teams, majority of people in our sport are not, let's say Jordan Anthony, they're not elite.
right,
That's not the
right,
majority of it. There's a reason why it's elites. I
hmm,
wonder if they get tainted of what they think track and coaching in, and because the reality is like, no, it's like, I'll use my own monitor. It's like Troy.
hmm.
It's hot and you're not traveling, you're not flying to places, you're driving the majority of place.
Well,
Like
100%.
I wonder if you get like tainted, and it's
Well,
because
and
that's what
this,
you're kind of describing. It's like, oh, I
well,
thought it was jet setting all over the world. It's like
well, and
not the reality.
no, and that's for sure. And so the thing is, I thank APU to this day 95% of the time for giving me the opportunity, a second chance to be able to graduate from school, number one.
Right.
But funny story with them, I remember my first week at Azusa, we did, so for those that don't know, there's no, I don't know how it is now, but there wasn't a track locker room. There was like kind of a half-assed football locker room.
Hmm.
I remember the first two questions I asked Coach Reed, I'm like, where's my laundry loop and where do I put in where do I get my wash back from? And the look he gave me,
What are you talking
he's
about,
like, what are
son?
you talking about? Yeah, exactly. And then I remember the first trip we went on, I'm like, hey coach, I'm like, when are we getting our per diem? He's like, you're what? I'm like, well, how am I gonna eat? He's like, do you not see we're on our way to Costco? We would literally go to Costco, buy bread,
Yeah,
sandwiches, the whole thing. So
yes,
I
yes,
tell
yes,
these
yes.
stories to my athletes now. They're like, Jarvis, what are you talking about? I'm like, we literally had a table set up with little Dorito chip bags to grab. We would make our own sandwiches
Sandwiches, yep.
and we would travel in a 15-person van. And you guys are
Amen.
complaining about like, oh my gosh, we're flying commercial, we're not chartering. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's
It's
just,
but it's
it's crazy.
all perspective,
Right. So yeah,
because
and to your
like
point was going from Azusa and then you see the glam and glitz of the now Diamond League and stuff. I'm like,
100%.
I want that. You know what I mean?
It's like that in every part of life. There
Right.
are poorly funded elementary schools and there are well-funded elementary schools, and those two you'd be like, whoa, man, these are two different worlds. There are
Right.
well-funded early stage businesses. There are
Sure.
well-established market leaders. Things happen differently,
Right.
revenues, expenses. So it happens everywhere,
Right.
but it is funny.
It is. No, it's hilarious. And so, yeah, so like I was getting at, so now I think we're inching closer to 2008.
Yeah.
Reina now is at University of Florida.
Hmm.
So Coach Holloway or Reina got Coach Holloway to invite me out because back then this is when now Power Four schools still used to do graduate
Hmm. Hmm.
assistantships.
Hmm. So,
So
so,
I
so
remember
you're volunteering at this point.
no, no, so yeah, so I'm at Azusa, kind of half
Yep.
coaching,
Hmm.
half
Hmm.
rabbit. I say I was coaching. I was on staff technically at
Hmm.
Azusa,
Hmm.
but I mean I was just helping Kevin and Barnett
Yep.
with whatever
Yep.
they needed. It wasn't
Where,
anything
where,
crazy.
where, where are you making money? Are you bartending
I
and
mean,
high?
I got no, so I got a stipend from Azusa. I think it was like 1,200 a month that covered my rent,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
I was timing dual
Oh, yeah,
meets.
yeah, yeah. Right.
So
Okay. Yep.
I
Good.
was timing. So then that was
You're
that, and
scraping
then
by. Okay.
yeah, and then did some sort of private coaching at some point. I forget when that started, but that was like the three things that got me through. So that spring, Raina convinced Coach Holloway um, to bring me with them to the East prelim round at Florida State.
Wow.
So I took a visit out there. He's like, and this is back when I was with, thinking maybe the agent route. He's like, well, what do you want to do for grad school? I'm like, well, Florida's got a great MBA program and sport management program. I was like, if I can get an MBA in business and a master's in sport management,
Hmm.
agency, here we come, right?
Yeah. Right. 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 Right.
Well, without getting into details, obviously Brian goes on to win the gold medal that summer. And then that's when Coach Holloway and Raina split. I'll never forget, I got that message from Coach Holloway. He's like, hey, stay in California. We don't need you anymore. And so I
That's
joke with him now, and I hope he doesn't get mad for me saying it wasn't
yeah.
that blunt.
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah.
Coach Holloway, he's a straight shooter. And
I,
like
I'd about
even
to
years
say,
after that, you know what I'm saying? It's
when
just
you said it's not that
yeah,
blunt, it's like, brother, I know Mouse and love him to death.
yeah,
OG,
no,
like
and
number 30 on the Gill Connections podcast.
right.
I could absolutely see that because he doesn't put any malice behind it. He's not saying,
No,
I don't need you, go on, peasant. He's like, hey, man, this
right.
just ain't happening here.
Right. And
Your
then I
best bet is
obviously
to
found
stay
out
out
after that.
there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And he
Hmm.
goes, it was, we'll get, just remind me, we'll get back to it when I got the Arkansas job because I was actually in Gainesville when I found out. So, anyway, or
Mm.
we'll get back to that.
Hmm.
But anyway, so all that being said, so at that point that I'm like, crap, thought I was going to go on to do
Yeah,
this.
thought you're
And to kind of your
here.
question
Yep.
before, I'm like,
Hmm.
all right, well, what do I do? And so then at that point, I was like, okay, let me stay in Azusa another year to actually coach, see if this is what I want to do, and
Hmm.
then we'll
Hmm.
figure it out. So that got me through the '09 season. I helped Azusa. And then at that point, I'm like, okay, this isn't the glam and glitz. I'd still go with Brian in the summer. This NAIA thing is kind of rough. No
Hmm.
offense.
Hmm.
Is this really what you want to do? Kind of back to your question before.
Yeah.
And so at that point, Coach Barnett goes, there's a joke from Brian's old group, and I know other people probably say it. We joke about calling people big time. It's like, hey,
Hmm.
big time.
Hmm.
So that's how
Hmm.
Coach Barnett's like, hey, big time, come here. I'm like, what, dude? He's like, you really want to do this thing, don't you? I was like, yeah. And he goes, all right, tell you what, I have an old teammate. He's also an Azusa alum. He just got the head coaching job at UCLA. His name's Mike Maynard. Let me connect you guys.
Mike's
And
it
so
right. That's right.
yeah, so
Yeah.
from Boise State. So he just came over from
Yeah.
there.
That's right.
And so after that next year, starting in 2010, that's when I started volunteering at UCLA for the first time. So I was at UCLA from 2010, and when I got there, I'll never forget it. And it was almost like the Raina comment. Uh, for those of you that know Maynard, how he talks, he's very direct and just anyway,
Hmm.
um, respect the crap out of the guy. But at the same time, it's like he goes, "You have a giant hole in your combined events resume." I'm like, "Excuse me?" And he's like, "Clearly, you know the sprints, you know the jumps." He's
Hmm.
like, "Barnett tells me you don't know very
Throws.
much about the throws."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Well, I know enough." He's like, "Well, knowing enough isn't gonna." And
Hmm.
he goes, "If there's anything," he's like, "This is the first lesson." He's like, "At the Division 1 level, you need to get someone to the meet, get them to score, and then do it again,
Hmm.
and do it again,
Hmm.
and do it again."
Right.
And that has resonated with me since then. That's now 16 years ago.
Yeah.
And so he goes, "I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, if you want to come to UCLA and be a volunteer assistant, that's basically what you need to do. If you want to go to Division 1,
Hmm.
you will be my throws volunteer for this next year, and you will learn everything I can teach you about the throws. And then at that
Wow.
point, and then at that point, we can decide where you go from there."
What made you say yes?
I wanted in. To me, UCLA was UCLA. It's the limelight, right?
Sure, sure. Yeah.
And I mean, we can argue like that whole sort of thing, but at the time, they teams were pretty good when
Yeah.
I was there.
UCLA, bro. I'd
Yeah,
go UCLA right
UCLA,
now. Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? And it's like, so got through that first year. He had several pretty good throwers. Julian Ruck ended up coming through when I was there.
Yeah, that's right.
Alec Faldemeyer, high armor thrower.
Mhm.
Matt Kasecki, a few other guys. Sorry guys, I'm naming you, but learned a lot that year. And it wasn't just for shot, disc, jab. I mean, I actually picked up hammer and weight throw type stuff. Not that
Mhm.
I want to
Mhm.
coach those, but it was one of those things where then at that point there were. Hold on, let me put this up. The left. Hope you guys don't get motion sickness. I got them up
Yeah.
there. So these were my
Oh
first three decks from UCLA.
yeah.
So the
Nice.
blonde haired dude, that's Dom Giovannoni, and then Marcus Nielsen on the left, and Dave in the middle. So
Nice.
Marcus Nielsen was the bronze medalist, Moncton World Juniors, and so that
Mhm.
was the one signee from that year.
Mhm.
So lesson number 2 for Maynard. He's like, "All right, you learn the throws. Clearly, you want to coach the combined events. You have full control of the men's combined events." Um,
Whoa.
and I'm like, he goes, "We just signed Nielsen. Um, he knows the background from everything." He goes, "Lesson number 2, don't crash the Ferrari."
That's a good one. I like that. And I can see him saying it that way.
Oh, and I'm like, "The hell are you talking about?" Because I mean, this kid. So anyway, so over the next 2 years, he was a multi-time All-American. I
Yeah.
think he scored 81 low,
Yeah.
and then Dom scored 77 something, and he made
So
NCs.
are
And
you
so
coaching
Dom,
all the events for the multi?
yeah, yep.
That's interesting to me.
And then this
We
guy right here, I have him on my wall, Coach Bush. So he'd
yeah.
come out every Monday and he'd help me with hurdles. He loved his hanging
Mhm.
out and that whole sort of thing. So,
We've had
um,
some amazing coaches, and one of them that sticks with me a lot is now rest in peace, Brooks Johnson. And Brooks
right.
really, I haven't coached in 20 years and there's no more
Mhm.
coaching for me, but I still, enthralled with the profession. And he talked about how you cannot be a sprints coach, a jumps coach, you have to be a
Right.
track and field coach. That
Hmm.
he said, he said like every event is the same. It's about moving the center of mass. Some of us do it in circles in a ring. Some of us do it over 26.2 miles. Some people do it
Right.
over 140 feet and then jump at the end of it, whatever. But it's about being a track and field coach. And
Mhm.
I learned this lesson from Cliff Rivelto and some others about the multis that if you're going to be a program that farms it out, and what I mean by that, and by the way, this has been successfully done, where
I gave a
someone's,
presentation on this, the
yeah,
Gill presentation at
that's
the
right.
convention.
Exactly. Where, you can be this somebody's good. And by the way, when I was with Trey Hardy, this is what we did. I did the sprints, hurdles,
Mhm.
and jumps. Someone did the
Mhm.
distance. Someone did another separate person did pole vault, separate person did throws, et cetera, et cetera. And it can be done, but it's much harder to do it that way than it is to do it the way you're talking about, where someone oversees the whole program because of training,
Yeah.
overtraining, and safety and
Right.
things like that. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
if you're going to have two, three, four coaches, boy, your communication better be
On point.
A
And so,
plus. And how many of us really
right.
have A plus communication?
No, I know. And so,
Not
like,
many.
to go
Yeah.
backwards a little bit. Yeah. And so, to go backwards a little bit. So, not that I misanswered it. So, yes. So, I oversaw everything.
Hmm.
Maynard obviously was doing the throws. I was there.
Hmm.
I did all the sprints and the jumps.
but you're, because you have knowledge and now all the events, you're
Right.
overseeing, like
And
you're
I'd be there
not.
for everything. It wasn't like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wasn't
that's what I'm
punting into
saying.
somebody
You're not
else.
like, hey,
Yeah.
go, you're with Coach Maynard for the day.
Right.
I'll see you tomorrow for long jump. And it's like, no, I'm
Right.
going to be over there. And yeah,
Oh, and
Maynard
I got to
might
give
be
a
the
shout out.
principal coach, but I'm there to watch the volumes, etc. Yeah.
Right. And so like, so I oversaw the whole combined event thing. I can shout out, and
Hmm.
obviously AC Anthony Kern, he handled the vault.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's where I learned a lot of my pole vault stuff from
Yep,
AC.
yep.
And so,
That's a good
so at
one.
the time that was that. So that was from 2010 to 2013.
Hmm.
And then, so after that got to there, so 2013, that was my first Worlds. So Nielsen actually qualified for Worlds. So that was my first major, not with Brian.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so, and by no means am I claiming Brian. Like I said, I held his
Yeah, yeah,
bag. I
yeah.
wasn't one
No,
of his coaches,
yeah, 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 yeah.
but it was the
We've
first
made
major
that
where I was like,
clear.
oh,
I
wow.
appreciate that.
I was like, wow, this is like my first athlete I got to a big meet. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
And it was probably, it was in Moscow. We can, that's a whole other conversation.
yeah, sure.
But then at that time, Maynard, I remember he called me in his office because at the time that he had hired a couple new assistant coaches and stuff. And I was getting pissed. I'm like,
Oh yeah,
Maynard,
'cause you're still a volunteer.
I'm still a volunteer. And I'm like, so, and to his credit, he hired Jack Hoyt at the time. He actually hired Asher,
Sure, sure.
Darrell Smith, all these guys. And so this was lesson number 3. And so I'll never forget. So he had a position that he knew was only going to be available for one season. And I'll never forget, he called me to his office. He's like, Jarvis, you don't understand this now because you're still pretty young in this whole Division 1 world. If I give you this job and I don't renew you after the first year, you will never get hired at a school like this. The perception is just gonna be bad. She's like, I'm just letting you know. And I think Asher's heard this story. So if you hears this and watches this, he'll laugh at this. He's like, I'm gonna hire Asher because he's already established in this whole sort of thing. And he could tell I was pissed. He's like, well, let me put it to you this way. Let me tell you a little story. He's like, if say you go to a grocery store and there's an earthquake and there's an emergency, and you're going down the aisle and there's you're looking for canned foods. What brand are you going to look for? And I couldn't remember what brand I said. I'm like, are you going to take the can of the brand that you recognize where there might be a rip or a dented can? Or are you going to take the no-name brand on the bottom where the shelf's still full with them? I'm like, I'm going to grab the can with the dent that I'm familiar with. He's like, exactly.
I'm not sure I understand and or agree.
So basically, he was saying I wasn't established enough yet. I'm good, knew what I was doing, but
But you
he
were
didn't
gonna
want to.
be you would I thought you this is gonna sound crazy. I thought you were the can that was dinged because okay, you do the paid job at UCLA for a year and he doesn't renew you because that's the job was only for a year.
Right,
Okay, you're the name brand, you have UCLA behind you, and okay, you're air
right,
quotes here dented because you didn't get
right.
I don't know if I agree with Mike. And by the way,
Well,
Mike, a
well, no,
very
I was
smart
not. No,
individual.
I was not full time. That's what I'm saying. I was
No,
still
no,
a
that's what I'm
volunteer.
saying. I think
Oh,
he
right,
should. I think he was wrong. Not. I'm hearing one side.
sure, right.
The way it's described, it feels like I have to disagree that he did not hire you because it's like, oh, this will be better for you. I don't think so, bro. Now it's
Right.
obviously all
Well,
worked out, but I don't know
but it
about
all
this
worked out. And also too, at the same time
because
too,
I'm
I had.
also very biased, Rob, on volunteer
Mhm.
coaches. Like I can't stand someone doing
Oh, I
any
can get into
job.
that
By
whole
the
thing.
way, I don't like
Right.
interns. Like when we started doing interns here, I was like,
Mhm.
before we talk about this, boys and girls, we have to pay them. I was like,
Right.
if we're gonna have the unpaid volunteer or unpaid internships, not in my
Right.
department. I
Right.
just think
No,
that
and
that's the
right.
I'm not gonna make the terrible
No, no,
analogy
no.
I'm
And
gonna
we can get
make,
back
but
into it
I just
too.
don't like it. So
No, and it's hard because it's like, and again, and full disclosure, I haven't spoken to Mike in
sure,
years. Like
sure,
he cut me out. We can talk about that later.
sure,
And
sure.
again, if he would talk to me, he won't talk to me. It was just like I would thank him to this day. Like I wouldn't be
Yeah,
here
yeah, yeah.
if he didn't give me that shot. Because I think a lot of coaches at that time didn't realize I was a volunteer. They thought I was
Right.
full time
Sure.
just
Yeah.
because of the responsibilities that I had.
Yeah.
Because then it went from combined events to men's
That's what I'm
horizontals.
saying. That's why I say
Yeah,
you were the Del Monte or whatever canned good, the Dole.
right.
You had UCLA
So that
behind you
was
for crying out
well, and
loud.
that was what was so upsetting. But I think to
Yeah.
Mike's credit, that you guys know Mike, he's a smart guy. So at the
100%.
time, I had my timing business. I had scaled it to where I was good. I was doing private coaching, which I hated. No offense, I don't like coaching younger kids. I just don't have the temperament for it. It's just not my
Yes.
thing.
Same.
That's why I'm not a
Same.
high school coach. No offense,
Same.
bless you guys. Like it's just not my thing.
Amen.
Um, but it was back to your question before. It was the ends to justify the means because in my mind, I'm like,
Sure.
I want to get to the top.
Yeah.
I'm not going to step on anyone's head getting there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
put in the time. So all that being said, that got us to 2013.
Yeah.
So after that season was over, I wasn't. jaded from what Maynard did, but I
Sure.
understood. And then he called him back. He's like, look, he goes, I know you really wanted that job. Obviously, the season's over. He's like, I'm not kicking you out the door, but you need a full-time job, and I'm going to help you find one.
Did you
And I'm
say,
like,
yeah, buddy? I thought that one last
yeah,
year was it.
exactly. So again, now how
Now
small
that I
track
can
and field
agree with
circles,
them.
right? So go to Moscow, and a
Yeah.
guy by the name of Lawrence Seagrave sitting in the lobby,
Yeah. Well,
obviously from Reina, and
yeah.
he called me over. He's like, hey, he's like, I hear you the hot younger coach. I'm like, all right, man, whatever you say. And to be honest, and for those of you that know Lauren, it's like, sales guy, love him to death, and he's been good to me.
Mhm.
He goes, I'm starting a high school academy team at IMG Academy. Um, he's like, I understand you want nothing to do with coaching camps and high school kids, but my professional training group is pretty good, and I have two of the best women long jumpers in the world in Tiana Madison and Daria Klishna.
All right.
I'm like, all right, let me think about that. And so that was during Worlds, and then I never got back to him. Get a phone call from Reina. What the f are you doing? He's like, you're volunteering now. We're in the fall training at UCLA, right? So he goes, do you want to make money? Do you want to be fake big time? Or do you just want to hang this thing
Mm,
up and just be done with
mm,
it? Because my, and full disclosure for coaches that want my excuse was, at the time I was making more money doing what I was doing as a volunteer than
sure.
I would have been as a full-time coach.
Absolutely. Yep.
And that's when he goes, do you want to make money or do you want to coach?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to coach. He's like, effing call Lauren back and accept whatever he offers you.
Mhm.
I'm like, but he's like, no
No
buts, and just
buts.
hangs up on me. So I call Lauren back. I'm like, hey, really thinking about this thing. Like, what's your timeline?
Mhm.
He's like, well, if you can get here by after New Year's, we have the NFL combine training. He's like, I understand you have a background in football. You
Mhm.
can help us with the combine training. That'll give you a little taste of that. And then we'll pivot to the pro group, getting them ready for the Diamond League season. And then we'll help some federation teams that are going along. And then we
Mhm.
just got to get this high school team off the ground. I'm like, all
Mhm.
right, cool.
I
I'll
would
get
say
there
this was
after New Year.
early on the high school team. There was
It was
fairly
before
non-existent.
it wasn't even
Yeah.
existing yet. And
Yeah.
so this is back in 2013, fall of 13 into 14.
Mhm.
So I let Maynard know, and oh gosh, I almost forgot. John Frazier, he kept my
Mhm.
head on straight. So when no, that's later. Sorry. So Maynard kicks me out the door. He's like, take the job. It's good for you. You need a
Mhm.
full-time job.
Good, good,
And
good.
he's like, don't worry about not being able to get back into college. Because my biggest fear was I'm leaving college for
Sure,
high
sure.
school and
Yep.
I'm not going to college. He's like, no, he goes, that'll be seen differently because you'll be
Mhm.
working with the pro group. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
cool.
Mhm.
So get to December, I fly out to IMG. I stay there for like 6 weeks. And then Seeger's like, well, when are you going to move? I'm like, well, we got this combine stuff going on. Probably once there's a lull. He's like, well, there's a break between training and when they have to show up to Indianapolis and this whole thing. Have you ever driven cross country before? I'm like, no, I haven't. He's like, well, IMG will pay for your mileage. Just load your truck up, and
Wow.
you literally get to drive the 10 freeway from California
All the
all
way.
the way across, literally the whole way, right?
Yep.
He's like, bucket list. And I'm like, oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah. That's a bad bucket.
So I think I know you know where this is going. So anyway, for those that don't know, so I fly back Valentine's Day weekend. First night I drive from LA to it was Fort something, West Texas, spent the night in some
Mhm.
dumpy hotel.
Mhm.
Uh, Next morning, hop on the freeway, start driving, and then goes from sunny to foggy, and I was taken out by an 18 wheeler. I'm like literally almost died.
I've seen
And
the pictures,
yeah,
bro.
I could send you some if you want to put it in on the back
It's
end. It's wild.
it's
So
unbelievable.
some Final Destination stuff. So I was rear-ended in the fog, truck flipped, rolled, pulled myself out about 5 minutes or so before it was T. I wouldn't have survived the second one. So anyway, long story short, back surgeries, hospital, lost use of this arm. I can't lift this arm. So to Seagrave's credit, he's like, recover in California. I'll save the job for you.
Mm.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Just take
that's
all the time you
smart.
need.
Yeah.
So that was
So were
February of
you, because
14.
that was in Texas, were you
Right.
like, how did you recover in like how did you get back to
Yeah.
California with it? Because
So
this was an
so
this wasn't a car. accident, a car wreck. This was
Yeah, I'll send you some pictures if you want to
life
put it in. Yeah,
changing and
yes,
almost life ending
yeah,
crash wreck. Yeah.
right, yeah, and like just a little tangent, like the I think the thing that still sticks out to me to this day that trips me out is so as the first responders are showing up, each one kept asking the other ones like, "Hey, do we need a tarp?" They're like, "No, he's right there," and like type of thing, and they're like, and there were first responders that went to the hospital that didn't believe I walked away, at least how I did from the
Yeah,
whole
you didn't
thing.
walk. Right.
Yeah, and they're like they come in, you could just see the look on their face, like they're I need to shake your hand, like you don't understand how lucky you are. Like I've
Wow.
seen, and they each one of them asked. This goes back to Coach Sheen and Kendall in class. Where they're like, "Why didn't you wait for someone to pull you out?" I'm like, "Why would I wait? I could do
Yeah,
it
why
myself."
wait?
Like
Yeah.
I'm reacting. They go, "You grew up playing sports, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "You need to call each one of your old coaches because they prepped you
Yeah.
to react. Like you literally reacted
Now we could do a whole show just
on that."
on
But
that and rehab,
yeah,
etc. But
mhm,
a, a question before we bridge past that
sure,
though is at any time, because I know a billion emotions happen during this time
yeah.
frame, at any time during after this accident, did you think, because you were on your way to IMG, you're on your next step of what you think is your career, things
Yeah.
like that, was there any of like, oh, this takes away coaching, I'm not going to be able to
Oh,
coach?
and that's where I was going with this. And so,
Mm,
um, I suffered a really severe concussion in this accident. And
hmm.
so, one of my ways I cope with being either nervous or scared, that sort of thing. So, for example, it was a 30-minute ride to the hospital. It was like remote West Texas.
Hmm.
They couldn't launch a helicopter. Okay, I'm not the most religious person, but basically, one of the ER doctors from where I ended up getting taken to happened to just be in the cars that were on their way to work. That was one. So they're
Hmm.
doing first aid. Anyway, I remember I'll never forget. He's like, someone came over. I don't know if it was a police officer or a state trooper. He's like, oh, they're not going to launch a helicopter because they thought they're going to have to send me up to gosh, I don't even know where it is. And I remember panicking. And he's like, they're not going to launch a chopper. It's too foggy. You have to wait 30 minutes for the ambulance to get here to take you to the hospital. And he goes, you can't pass out. He's like, I don't know what's wrong with you. Like, you can't pass out. And I remember going, and I remember, I'll never forget, he was holding my wrist to feel my pulse. And he's like, well, what's done? He's like, I see you got a backpack over there that says track. You know how to run, right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you know how to breathe. He's like, calm down.
Wow.
And it dropped from like one, I don't know what it was to
Yeah,
what,
yeah, yeah,
but he
yeah.
thought I was crashing. He's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm like, I thought you told me to relax. And so I'm like this. And he's like, look, it's going to be 30 minutes. He's like, you got 5 fingers. Every 5 minutes, I'm going to tell you, just take one finger away and the ambulance is going to be here. Anyway, so that was a whole other
Hey,
thing. But
what a skill from this person. I mean,
for
that's
sure,
someone who's
completely calm me down.
trained, has empathy for the
Mhm,
victim. I mean, that's
right. Yeah. And so get to the hospital, and this is the last part we can pivot. But I remember getting put on anyone that's been on the spine board, it's not fun, neck immobilized, looking up just at lights.
mhm.
And cutting clothes, and I was all mad because I had a Canadian uh, Pan Am sweater getting cut off me and pants and the whole deal. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is like super invasive. And so the yard talk is like, hey son, like, do you know what day it is? And I remember started to cry. I'm like, I don't. And I was full panic because he's like, well, do you know who the president is? I'm like, yes. He's like, well, do you know who you are? And the medic told me the way that the thing is like West Texas, town called Iraan,
Okay.
Texas. Town population, I don't know what it is. And the nurses, they still follow me on Facebook, but it was named after an oil baron's daughters, Ira and Ann. So
Wow.
I told the doctor, I'm like, I don't know where I'm at, but I guess I got hit so hard I ended up in Iran. I don't know if that's a good joke now because what's going on. And then just the whole ER room just starts busting up laughing. And then we're off to the rest of this. So
I
that's
got
that
hit
story.
so hard it shipped
Yeah.
me across the country, the
But
world.
so now fast forward back to when I got to IMG, and this will answer your question.
Mhm.
I didn't think it was going to affect my journey until I gave my first presentation back at IMG. So Lauren asked me to give a talk on long jump and triple jump and check marks, and like this is the X's and O's we'll get.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm a proponent of a 6-step check, and so I was presenting to the Chinese delegation
Mhm.
that was
Mhm.
there because they wanted to send jumpers.
Mhm.
I will never forget the panic that set in. I'm getting goosebumps again. It's just I didn't realize how bad my concussion was until I gave that talk. So I was trying to drive I don't even remember what it was. I was trying to drive a point home and I completely forgot what I was talking about.
Mhm.
And Lauren can see the look on my face, and he
How
saved it.
post removed from the accident was that?
6 months.
Had you had anything leading up to that of
I
like,
kind of said,
yeah.
yeah, like I had family tell me like mood swings, temper, that sort of thing. And so that can go into that too. I still deal with a lot of that. But just but the memory, even now, like for example, I always tell play people if like say you and I were talking, you've seen me do it. We were talking and you say something, I gotta remember, I'll literally text or email myself. So if I don't write it down, I will forget it. And so people get mad at me. They're like, "You really gonna pull your phone out?" I'm like, "Sorry, it's a thing I got to do to, you know what I mean?" And so those are one of those just strategies I have to use to get through my day to day, just because I still deal with it to this day.
Yeah.
But I truly thought at that point, I'm like, "You got to be effing kidding me!" I just volunteered. I
Oh,
finally got a
oh,
job.
you're thinking not, oh, I'm screwing this presentation up. You're thinking like, oh my God, is this it?
Yeah, this is
Can I
it.
not, can I do the job? Because I can't remember
Right.
100%.
Exactly.
Oh, that's
And
scary.
so then as time went on, I felt less punch drunk, if you will.
Hmm.
But then I knew just from that environment there, nothing bad, nothing negative to say about there. I just knew I loved coaching the pro group. I knew again, going back to the Brian thing, the big time, like I always felt like that's what I wanted.
Hmm.
And now I was like, crap, you gotta be
Does
kidding
this
me.
take it away?
This is take it away. And so got through the 15 season. Tiana and Dasha, they medaled. It was cool.
Hmm.
And then I remember going back, I called Maynard. I'm like, Mike, you need to get me out of here, dude. Like I can't deal with this high school thing. And again, no offense, it was the nicest kids. I
Hmm.
still keep in touch with them to this day, but it was just like for my demeanor is not cut out for that
Yeah, it's
environment.
different.
And
Absolutely.
it's not even
Yeah.
like me being like a-hole or just
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
tearing them up. It's just like I'm the type where it's like if I tell you once, cool,
Hmm.
twice,
Hmm.
eh.
Hmm.
Third time we probably got a problem because it's like either
Hmm.
you don't care enough or it's just this isn't for you.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And so um I called Mike and he's like, yeah, he's like, let me call you, give me a week, I'll call you back.
Hmm.
And rewinding back to when I was at UCLA the first time, one of the clients I had, family, Bornstein family, best friends with me to this day. Zach, the son, he was a Canadian decathlete, ended up at UCLA, played football there. And Mr. Bornstein Dean, he's a big donor for UCLA athletics for football and for track. And so he called Dean and convinced him to put up enough for a salary for me to come back and be the director of ops. So
Wow.
so I moved back to California in
Did you
December
fly?
of 14.
Did you fly this
Yeah,
time?
I flew this time.
Smart, smart.
Yeah, so December of 15, moved back to California, and Maynard told me, he's like, look, people know you now.
Hold on. So you went back to be the director of ops.
Yeah,
Now you and people around you, Maynard and other people have been very careful to almost like curate you in regards to
yep,
this potential future career. Uh,
yep,
I'd be more concerned with someone who goes to become a director of ops coming back into coaching, much less than someone who either gets out or goes to high school or you know what I'm saying?
yep. It was more of a financial bridge
Sure,
to figure
I
out what I
get
was going
that.
to do.
Yeah,
Right. And at the time too, I needed to get back to LA because then I was going through a whole lawsuit settlement with the whole,
right, right.
so that could be a whole other show. But to your question, I was so upset that I thought I put in all this time and I'm not even around the sport.
Hmm.
I was like, so kind of the planning again, right? I'm like, okay, go back to be the director of ops. You still have your time and contacts. That's your hedge. And I made my mind up that I was going to give myself 2 years. If I couldn't figure it out in 2 years,
Hmm.
I was going to go full time into the timing thing, and then I
Hmm.
would just
Hmm.
be Chris Drescher Jr.
Yeah,
Shout out to
yeah.
Chris and all those guys.
Chris
But
Kingery. Yeah.
yeah, but so anyway, all that being said is that so year one, Maynard's like, look, I have strict policy in place. He's like, you cannot be seen in a coaching box. People know you now. And I'm like, okay, first I went to no one knows who the hell I am. Now all of a sudden, he's like, you don't understand. If you show up to any meets and you're talking to athletes, even if you're asking them for their lunch order, someone's going to take a picture and someone's going to turn you in. And this is a whole other world of coaching that I didn't even know existed. Right.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so,
But yet, director of
another,
ops are allowed to take lunch orders.
exactly. Right. And
Yeah,
so,
it's a little paranoia on Mike's side, which I
oh,
also understand, but also
right.
let's call a
Well,
spade there. Yeah.
I mean, if people want to do a little deep dive, I think at the time he was dealing with the Boise State thing
Sure.
and NCAA.
Like I said,
Anyway, it's a whole other tangent.
I get
Yeah.
what he's
Oh,
saying, but it's also like,
100%.
well, then why do you have a director of ops for crying out loud? Yeah.
Right. So, and so now insert John Frazier. John
Hmm.
Frazier saved my coaching career. I told him that. I
He's doing a
speak
great job at
volumes.
Texas State.
Dexter say, yeah, I know,
Great
love
job.
Frazier. And so at the time, Maynard had brought Frazier in to help him with the throws. And
Hmm.
so so I get back to UCLA. Frazier's helping me with the travel, all the other stuff. And then same question he asked that Rain asked me, he's like, really, what do you want to do? And I told him, like, I put on this freaking time. I want to coach.
Right.
And so got through the 16 season. Ironically, my first national meet back with UCLA happened to be here in Fayetteville.
Oh,
Uh,
nice. That's funny.
and so I didn't step foot into the Tyson indoor facility once during that thing. But anyway, get back to that. So, so then Frazier asked at the end of the season, he's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I want to coach. And Mike's like, well, if you coach, that salary's gone. Like, I can't pay you to be the director of ops. Like, it's accountable coach, can't do it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so at that time, settlement came through. So I earmarked, I'll say I earmarked $50,000. I was like, this is what I'm budgeting for this year.
Hmm.
I'm going to give it a go. And Mike's like, are you sure? And at the time, bless his heart, like he and I bumped heads from time to time, but he was always good to me. Jack Hoyt was now the associate head and jumps coach at UCLA.
Hmm.
And so Mike's like, all right, tell you what, I'm not going to give you the deck back, but you can have the men's and women's horizontal jumps.
Hmm.
And if this is what you want to do, go nuts and go from there. And so had Isaiah Holmes, he ended up jumping 790 something. Had Jesse Maduka, she jumped over 14 meters. And so was able to, like I said before, was able to replicate it now, not only getting people to the meet and scoring,
Hmm.
but doing it again
Hmm.
after everything else. And so got through the 17 season, and obviously things happened at UCLA when it went sideways with the regime change. And that's where the falling out happened with Mike. And like I said, I've tried talking, we can get to that whole
Yeah, yeah.
thing. But yeah, ever since that went down, I haven't talked to him since. But uh went to European under 23s with Jessie. She made the German team for that. And then get a phone call from a lady by the name of Amy Deem asking if I'd be interested to move to, or I'd be interested in the jump sub at Miami.
Yeah.
So life worked it out. So, and now at the time I'm dating my now wife,
Hmm.
Kim. I went to the interview process. We were on vacation in Maui, and Amy called. It's like, hey, how about, I'm gonna offer you the job. You want to move to Miami? I'm like, let me call you back. And so, Kim and I, we were at dinner, and she's like, did she offer you a job? I'm like, yeah. She's like, I could, and we had only been dating not even a year at that
That's
point.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I could see she was excited for me, but then like kind of confused. I'm like, would you want to go?
Hmm.
And she's like, yeah, I think so. I'm like, okay, look, tell you what, you know my personality now. And if people that haven't picked up on this, you'll get it now. We literally left dinner. We were supposed to go to some show, and I had my iPad on the trip. I downloaded the 30 for 30 of the U, and I made her watch it. And I'm like, this is why I want to go. She's like, oh my God, that's your
That's
personality. She's like, we
funny.
have to go. And so
The
anyway,
swag,
so
baby.
yeah. And so I called Coach Dean back, and I'm like, yeah, I'm coming. So, and
So
that was summer of 17.
I've met Kim. We
Mhm.
either had dinner, or me and you and her, not the one
Yep.
to me
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Kim
yeah,
had
yeah.
dinner, or drinks. I remember here we got
We're
to
in
talk
brunch. Yeah, yeah.
about his
Yep.
tour. And I'm just, what a smart, obviously beautiful young woman. Rob, I look at you and I'm like, you are a blessed individual, my friend. And
Lucked
I
out.
love that, this was years ago now.
Mhm.
You guys were dating. I don't think you were even engaged at that time. I think it was just serious dating. It was like,
Yeah.
like I'm so glad that it continues
It
to
worked out.
blossom today and that you're married.
Right.
I love that. Um,
Right.
okay, so you're at Miami and you're with one
Hmm.
of my favorite, I know I say that a lot because I love track and field
Right.
coaches, but Amy is just, I don't know, man. I mean, when
Hmm.
you look in the dictionary under the word leader, Amy's picture
Hmm.
is there, and she's so
Right.
humble. She'll be the first one. She'd be telling me to shut up right now. All these gushing over her. Was
No.
blessed to have her on the podcast. She's been on the show before as well.
Right.
And what she has done that impresses me the most, and you're part of this, Rob, is
Hmm.
for many reasons, understandable reasons in regards
I know where
to
you're going with this.
cost
Yep.
of living and things like that.
Right.
But she's been through some assistant coaches there. That's nothing new.
Yep.
Amy
No.
wouldn't.
Right. No,
She
that's
agrees with
right.
me. And again, there's a lot of reasons. There's again cost of living, et cetera, things like that.
Right.
But she has continued to win and coach at a high level, even
Hmm.
with you, Devin. Gosh, I'm missing 20 other guys and gals.
All go through. Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
like if you just think like for me being selfish, so it's like
yeah.
if you go through it, coaches at big jobs, Todd Lane,
Yeah.
Jim
Todd,
Van
right. Yeah.
Jim
Yeah.
Van Onagin, Gerald
Oh,
Langley,
that's right, Jim. Yeah.
Keith Hurston.
That's
I'm
right.
sure,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
Calvin,
Keith. Yeah. I knew I was missing
and
like a
so
hundred other people.
no,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
just thinking, just
Calvin.
like just the jumps coaches only to come
Yeah.
through there
Yeah.
and where we are at now. I mean, speaks
Yeah.
volumes to just the
Yeah. That's
not
that.
only just
That
identifier of talent. You could argue, you know what
That's
I mean, just from that way.
exactly right. All these people, and you're right. I forgot more than half. Keith, love him to death,
Mhm.
good friend,
Right,
have continued to go on in the career. It's weird
right,
because not that Miami is or was a jumping you hear that term sometimes, a
right.
jumping point off to something bigger. Miami is big, bro. It's huge. It's
Hmm.
unbelievable. It's an amazing school.
Right,
But I'm just always impressed that with the different personality that comes in, she is still able to make it work with the staff. The athletes still
right.
respond, and it's just impressive to me when someone
Yeah.
can lead through change. It's
Hmm.
easier, not easy, easier
Right,
when things are consistent. Consistency is unbelievably important. You know that as a track
right,
coach
right.
and as an athlete. Leading through change, bro. Oof,
Hmm.
that's hard, and she has
No,
done it
right.
amazingly. So love her to death. So how long were you at Miami?
So I was there 7 years.
Yeah. So how'd you enjoy that?
It was fun, and it was just one of those things where I got to grow. You know what I mean? Where it was just like it wasn't that there are any limiters, and I mean, people have a lot of opinions about like you brought up, but Dean was awesome to me. And again, she was firm but fair. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And it
yeah,
was
that's
like,
right.
and people I will name on our staffs that we were on at the same time would say just like, oh well, you're the favorite. I'm like, no, it's just you. You guys know me. I'm pretty unfiltered. I'm trying to be pretty good and PG
Right,
on this
right.
whole
You're
thing. But
doing
it's
great,
like,
buddy.
and like with her, it was like she gave me a pretty long leash, if you will, like after the first season. So it was just obviously like Michelle Afterly was huge for me, like just from the female side,
Right,
just national champ, all that other good
right.
stuff. And then obviously Russ and all the other jumpers that I had there. But like she gave me the resources that we had to go
Hmm.
and get me to where I am now. And I'll be forever grateful because it's just one of those things where um up until a few years ago, I mean, let's be honest, like Miami track wasn't really known for the men's team,
Hmm.
other
Oh,
than the football players that were on the team. You know what I mean? And so
no, that has
um
been a 180 that probably should be studied because
right,
it's one thing to start a program from zero. That's amazing. But,
right,
Texas A&M University in San Antonio is about to start a program from scratch. That the
right.
person that gets that job is going to have a heck of a road ahead of them, but they got
Hmm.
resources. It's amazing. The Miami one is interesting as a case study because you had a successful, very successful women's program motoring right along, and you
Right,
had a men's program, football coaches, the odd
right.
kid here and there, and now Miami men's program is pretty good.
Right.
You
No,
would take a
and
lot of those athletes. That's an interesting
right. And like
dichotomy of two teams but same coaching staff.
sure, and that's the thing is like where that's where I give her a ton of credit. Where I mean, I'll pat myself on the back a little bit. Like between myself and the associate head coach, Coach Young, like it was our
Okay,
guys. You know
cool.
what I mean? And so I mean, we were ended up being top 10 my last year there. That's what
Mm-hmm.
got me to Arkansas. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just one
Mm-hmm.
of those things where the kids, I should say kids, the athletes showed up when they did, and like
Mm-hmm.
that was I don't forget to it. That was probably one of the hardest things for me to do. And that's one of the lessons that Coach Frazier taught me. He was like, always leave the place better than it was when you got there.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that's what was the case. But it's like you forget, like we build pretty close relationships like with the athletes and stuff. And so um, some of them were pretty upset. And it was
Mm-hmm.
like I when you go into someone's living room and I'm coaches out there where it's you always tell them like you don't plan on leaving. Like it's not your intent to leave, but I've always been pretty honest where it's like you can look at my resume. The only time I stayed somewhere short was IMG just because that was like obvious reasons. It wasn't that, but it's like for me, I'm home. I love it here. And like I joked with Geffy when I saw him in Paris, where I was like, I never thought in a million years he was leaving here again. You know what I mean? So
Right.
Arkansas was not even on my
Yeah, 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 yeah,
radar as far
yeah.
as like destination jobs.
When you're at Miami, where are you
Mhm.
at that point in your life? in
Yep.
regards to coaching education. And what I mean by that,
Yep.
I've explained this 100 times and I will continue because
Hmm.
I really believe in this. There's formal and informal. None
Yep.
are more important than the other. Formal being our
Sure.
USATF level ones, level twos,
Yep.
USTF, CCCA, Altus, things like that.
Yep.
Informal is, I called up Calvin Robinson. Was like, hey man, so what have you done with jumpers here in the past?
Hmm.
Because I'm thinking about this. I'm struggling here. Those kind of like
Right.
the peer to peer. Where are you at
Yeah.
this point at Miami in regards
In
to
Miami.
coaching?
So, I mean, I literally would talk to Raina weekly, if not every
That's
few
pretty good
days.
coaching education, brother.
Right. And then my other ace, Jeremy Fisher. Fish, I didn't mention him earlier.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Fish
yeah.
took
Yeah,
me
how
under
do you
his
know
wing,
him?
like
Yeah,
just same timing from when I was with Brian. So back when
yeah.
USA Track and Field still had the Emerging Elite Coaches Program,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was in one of those first classes
Yeah.
with him. So it was just and ever since then, so is Fish and Rain have been my two
Love
that I've
him.
always talked to.
He's been on the
Yep.
podcast as well, by the way.
Yep.
And was byproduct of a Wisconsin connection. You went to Wisconsin and
Sure.
you
Of
thought about
course.
going. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
love
So it's
him
always
to
a running joke
death.
with he and I.
What's interesting, and I'm not in day to day coach anymore. Obviously, I talk
Hmm.
to coaches on a day to day, every day, hundreds a
Hmm.
day. Jeremy, and maybe because I was in it, because I was a big, this. I think you probably remember. I was a big coaching education, like I did all the level twos and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Well, I can back that. Yep.
Yeah, and Jeremy, like I remember the first, was it the first? Yeah, first one I did level two was Boise State, and Jeremy was
Mhm.
just finishing up his athletic career, and
Oh wow.
Boo made him his test dummy. Meaning, like, every example, he's like, all
Yep.
right, now Jeremy, do the double leg hop. Now Jeremy, do the
Yep.
single leg. And I remember going like, man,
That's
who?
funny.
I was like, who is this kid?
Who
He's
is this
pretty freaking
dude?
athletic, And it's
Right.
like, oh yeah, he jumped seven something and blah blah blah,
Yep.
and it was really kind of the hot thing. And I don't know, like I feel like he's not getting his just dues today in 2026, and that concerns me because he is one of our not
Hmm.
only knowledgeable coaches out there, but he teaches really well. And that's a skill that
Hmm.
we don't talk about a lot. We can
Right.
talk about people knowing a lot of stuff,
Yep.
but like a Boo Schexnader who can
Sure.
teach it.
Yeah.
And Jeremy's got that. And so
Right.
I concern
Yeah.
myself with our coaching
Well,
education as it relates to,
so I can go to two things, and Boo's another one. Boo, I always would
mhm,
email the crap out of him when jobs are open. He's always
mhm,
been good to me too. And so I don't want to speak for Fish, but I would just say kind of going sideways to the coach's education thing. I mean, I have my level three in
mhm,
sprints. I did the level three in the jumps, but I didn't do the final project, so I didn't get credit for it.
mhm,
And then same thing from the coaches association side. I have most of all of them you
mhm,
can get.
mhm,
So
mhm.
I've done the more formal side and the informal side,
Yeah,
like you said. But I just think for Fish, um, he just likes to coach. I mean, just from everything
yeah,
you see, just he
that's
follows
true.
social and stuff, and now he's got two beautiful daughters and married. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I think
that
too, again, not
that
speaking out of school, but
that's a
this then that. Okay, sorry.
no. I'm sorry, I interrupt you. That's a good point. He may be a guy, and I can't remember. He was on the show, and I can't remember if I asked this or not. He may be a guy who loves to coach, but he's also very talented teaching. And he's
Yep.
like, "Yeah, I know you want me to teach more, but man, I just love my toes in the sand, brother. I love being out there with the athlete." And that's because those are two
Right.
different things.
Right.
That may be it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think too, again, not speaking for him, but I think also
Mhm.
now having two young girls changes things. You don't want to be on the road and all that sort of
Sure.
stuff. And
Yeah,
then
because
the other
they
tangent
were
with the
riding him like a dog.
right,
Teaching. Yeah, that's right. I remember I was on
yeah,
a plane with him once and we talked about that because I
right,
was like, Jeremy, you got to be careful, brother. Man.
right.
Yeah.
And then the last thing too, then with the training center not getting shut down, but
Mhm.
getting sold to Chula Vista, obviously with him and Coach Mack, that
Yeah,
changed their
that's true.
things. You know what I mean? So
That's right.
yeah, so not
That's
speaking
right.
for those guys, but that would be
Yeah.
my guess.
Yeah,
But
outside
yeah,
looking in. Yeah, yeah.
mhm,
That's a good point. All right, so 7 years at Miami.
mhm,
You're doing coaching education. You got a lot of peer coaching education as well.
right.
Why and how do we go to Arkansas?
so the third or fourth person I didn't mention, I've always been super close with Petros, and so
Mm,
he, I can't. So basically, so there's now we're in the middle of summer. I had passed on a couple other opportunities, and Miami was trying to give me more money. I mean, you know how the whole song and dance and
mhm,
stuff.
mhm.
And again, at that point, Dean was fighting administration to do stuff, and again, nothing bad to say about Miami. So a couple jobs came up. I passed on them. One was because Kim didn't want to move to a particular place, and
Mhm.
don't want to mention where it was, but
Yeah,
he loves busting my you know what's about it every single time.
yeah.
Um, but then I get a call from Petros, and when I take that back, no, excuse me, Mike Eskin at North Carolina. That's the other one I talked to you, Mike. So Mike and I were in the
Mhm. I
same
love
emerging
Mike.
class.
Yeah.
So he calls me. He's like, "Hey," and because track coaches love to gossip or hear what they hear, right? Who wouldn't do that? He's like, so what are you hearing? Because he always knew like I was not that, and I was never actively looking. But whenever Mike called, there was always he was always trying to help me in a good way. He's always been good to
Yeah.
me. And he's like, hey, it's like, so what have you been hearing about the job things? I'm like, oh, I hear such and such is going to this place or such is going that way. And at the time that everyone knew, like Coach Revelto was retiring.
Mhm.
And he's like, what are you hearing about Kansas State? I'm like, man, I haven't heard much. And he's like, okay, that's weird. He's like, well, I had someone gave me a call to reach out to see if you're interested in the job. And I'm like,
The head job?
what? No, 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 no. Just in general.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
he goes, well, someone's asking me to reach out to see if you're interested in something. And April Fool's is good. He's like, yeah. He's like, what do you think of Fayetteville? I'm like, Fayetteville? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like,
Hmm.
well, it's going to get announced tomorrow that Travis is getting the K-State job, and Buck asked me to reach out
Oh, that's
if
interesting.
you're
Yeah.
interested in Arkansas. I'm
Hmm.
like, you've got to be shitting me. He's like, no,
Hmm.
I'm dead serious. I'm like,
Right.
dude, you got to be kidding. So um, about 10, 15 minutes later, Petros calls me. He's like, hey. I'm like, what's up? He's like, did you hear? I'm like, well, I just heard something. And
What'd you hear?
and yeah, I'm like, what'd you hear? He's like, he goes, do you need me to, and he didn't even say anything. He's like, do you need me to make a call for you?
Yeah, I love him
I'm
so
like,
much.
sure. And then I can't remember if I called Raina or if he called me. He's like, hey, I'm like, what in the hell's going on? Like, it's like people that know me, I'm not a big person on the phone, but it was just like all thing. He goes, do I need to make a call? I'm like, please.
Hmm.
And so this was a Thursday. Travis was announced Friday.
Hmm.
Buck was on vacation in Massachusetts. He sends me a text like, hey, I'm back in town Monday. I need to speak to Amy first, and then I'm going to give you a call.
Hmm.
Cool. Saturday turns to Sunday. My phone's silent. I'm like, this sucks. Like, it's just like any other job, like trying to get my hopes up. Like, this is bad. And then Monday morning, uh, I'm on my way to the office, and Dean calls. She's like, hey, turn your ringer, because we always have our ringers off in the office.
Hmm.
She's like, I just talked to Buck. And I'm like, she's
Uh-huh.
like, oh, like I'm like, she's like, he's and if anyone was she's like, he's gonna call you. I'm like,
Hmm.
thanks. And so talked to Buck that night, but then obviously it's the middle of recruiting season. I think it was July,
Hmm.
getting ready to go to Paris with Russ Robinson. And so just a lot of stuff's going on. And talked to Buck for probably like 90 minutes. And anyone that
Hmm.
knows Buck, just his personality coming through the phone. And we had that connection going back to New England from Long Island. His family grew up on the water. I think the first 30 minutes of our conversation is what we had talked about on the beginning of this podcast,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
just the connection to the water and this whole sort of thing. And he got gets in. He's like, so anyone knows Buck? He's like, so I got an opening. You interested? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, I need to make some more calls. I'll call you back. And I'm like, okay, cool. And he'll go, before I go, he's like, Doug Case is going to call you. You got to talk to Case before you move anything. So I'm like, okay, just want to let you know I'm flying to Dallas for some home visits. Um, we just compare. He's like, yeah. So Case calls me like 30 minutes later. He and I talk for an hour. And I'm like, this just sounds
Did
awesome.
did you know Doug before this?
In passing, because one of those things, and
Yeah.
even with Buck, because it's like kind of what I talked about before. Even as a young coach, I hated bugging people at meets because I knew they were working.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then I was always the type to where I'd go to conventions and everyone thought I was the introvert, where they're
Hmm.
like, "Oh my God, you don't shut up," type of a
Right.
thing, just because of
Right.
how you are at a
Hmm.
meet.
Hmm.
And so for me, it was like I knew of them, but
Yeah.
the
Because
only connections were, yeah.
I need to reach out to Doug for the show as well because it was interesting. I had Chris Johnson on when Lance
Mhm.
Harder retired, because,
Yeah,
Arkansas, yeah, there's many great programs out there and
right.
lots of them are great for different reasons. There
Mhm.
is just something about Arkansas. I mean, when you have a
No,
bazillion national champions and you have
right.
a godfather like John McDonald in your
No, for
coaching
sure.
history,
And
and Lance Harder doesn't get enough credit in my opinion. Lance is
right,
unbelievable, and an
right,
amazing human being, by the way.
right.
Uh, so when I had Chris on about, hey, so you're gonna replace Lance Harder at the University of Arkansas, it was a great conversation. When I met Doug, I visited
Mhm.
Buck several years ago, and I remember going by Doug's office, and I was like, Doug, no one knows who you are, like no one's talking about you, but
Mhm.
man, you just secretly produce freaking champions, dog. Like
Yeah.
it's just, he's like the silent assassin in my opinion, and it may be just because
Well,
I always wondered. I remember had to ask a few people, I was like, I wonder if he's I'll say quiet and unknown to me because he's like, who the hell's Mike? Or
Hmm.
is that him? And it's like, and I've been told many times, no, no, that's him. He's a quiet
That's
guy.
him. Yeah, he quiet
So
guy. It's awesome.
I would love to pick his brain, like, okay, Doug, you're taking over an amazing program from
Hmm.
Bucky, who took over from McDonald. I mean,
Right.
that's some
It's
big shoes to
humbling.
fill. Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and the thing for me is um, like you said, the history. Like in the history of Arkansas, to my knowledge, I'm only the fourth jumps coach ever here. So working back, I got giant shoes to fill. So it's
Dick,
Travis, Dick Luke was
Travis.
first,
Yeah, yeah,
and
Travis.
Mario Satania.
Oh, yeah. Is
You
that
know what I'm saying?
right?
So
That
it's like
can't be.
three
No, no.
giants in the sport.
Wait.
Yeah.
Someone had
On
to
the
be
men's
the.
side, remember we're separate. So
No,
it's
no, I know,
only
but who was before Dick? I know he's there for a long time, but he can't be the first.
I don't know if they even had that before Dick.
They
My
had
honest,
to. Had to. Although that is kind of where you think of like, well, for guys like me and you, that is where we think of like
right,
when Arkansas track starts is like, oh, Eric
right,
Walder and those guys, and
right. But
of course
it's
that's
wild to me,
interesting. That is a
and,
heck of a
and
lineage, though. I'm with you.
no,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm saying. It's just like I don't even see myself as that, and it's like I have to pinch myself every day when I'm here because it's
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
grew up reading crap
Yeah.
about not crap stuff about Coach Booth and all that sort of stuff, and it's just
Hmm.
like it's humbling. I remember when I walked into our O'Mara, our high performance center. You look at the top 10, and I'm just
Yeah.
like,
Right.
it's unbelievable, and it's like
Yeah.
I'm happy to just keep people on lists, and it's just it's humbling to be here, but at the same time too, like you said, the legacy and I mean, you can't see outside right now, but they're doing our national championship flag raising ceremony
Hmm.
next week, next Friday. So like it's this whole like hoopla thing.
How do you? I mean, there's other programs that, not many, but there are other programs I'm imagining that have comparable top tens. Just stay in the long and triple and high and stuff like that, as Arkansas does. Arkansas has a great one. I'm not putting it down, but I
Mhm.
assume I don't know. Um, I don't know. There's other programs that have had amazing jumpers and things like that. But what's it like coming into a program where you look at the top 10 and you're like, oh, so to get a kid on there, they basically got to be a national champion. And that doesn't actually guarantee you they got to be damn near an Olympian to be on the
Mhm.
top 10.
Well,
How do you like internally, how do you like
yeah.
you've done an amazing job in a very oddball career. And I mean that in a positive manner, like
Hmm.
not a very straight manner, right?
Right.
And you've coached some amazing athletes and been around amazing athletes, Brian included in that conversation. Now it's a different rung on the ladder, though. How do you
Hmm.
internalize of like, oh, I've got to step my game? It would be
Yeah.
hard for somebody to look at you and say, hey, you need to step your game up. It's like, brother, he's done a lot. What are you
Right.
talking about? Step your game? He's at national
Right.
champs, but you do. You have to step your game up. How have you internalized that?
Well, that's a good segue, and this is me being a little bit open. I hope this doesn't turn into like locker room art. So I'll be honest. Like going into this last indoors, I'm glad my guy showed up because this year I only have 6 athletes in my group. Last year I inherited 15, and
Mhm.
so I just wanted my 2 guys to do something because I knew we were going to have a good meet, and even if you took those points out of it, it'd be kind of weird being on a national championship team and you didn't contribute. So I mean,
Mhm.
that's the first part to
Sure,
that question.
sure, yeah,
Um, the
that
second
makes
part,
sense.
going backwards to last year, it was, if I'm being really honest, it was not overwhelming being here. Number one, it's humbling. Number two, just what we just talked about, the chair that I'm sitting in that was in here before me, some big ass shoes to fill. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And it's just like I've never seen myself as like that. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like, I mean, I
Hmm.
know whatever. But that being said, I was sick to my stomach last year because indoors we lost getting ran off the track by our lovely rivals. So that was one. We would
Hmm.
have won that meet
Hmm.
if we hadn't got run off the track.
Right.
And then fast forward to outdoors, we lose by a point, and it made me sick because both, I hate to say it, we talked about it today. So Marcus no hided in the vault. He would have been
Hmm.
second behind
That's right.
Peyton,
Yeah.
and then Scotty no hided in the high jump. I never had a meet in the world where I had 2 athletes like no
Hmm.
height. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
for me, I'm like, oh my god, this is. And we kind of sense Buck wanted to retire. I'm like, I totally just effed up this dude's swan song. You know what I
Oh,
mean? And so,
sure.
and the Bucks credit, he knew I was going through it. He's like, this is not your fault. Shit happens at meets. We've had
Yeah,
second, third, fourth place trophies. You look all over here. It's
that's
like,
right.
don't think of it that way. But
That's right.
so, like, think of it last year in my group, I think indoors scored 18, 20 points, and then outdoors was like half that. Now I was happy to score 8 points at this indoor meet when we scored 73 and a half. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things where it's like it's success is fleeting and that sort of thing. But to go back to your question, it's been really, really humbling here and just so great for my family because like it's bizarre being in a town like we literally get stopped like, hey coach, what do you think of Fayetteville? Hey coach, nice meet last weekend.
That's crazy.
It's the cool. It's trust me, man. I get an ego as big as anybody. It's like it's a nice ego massage walking through the
Yeah,
airport. Hey, coach,
yeah,
like what does your family think of Fayetteville? What's how's your son? And it's the coolest freaking thing.
that
And
is
it's just
cool.
like one of those things where being a California guy, born and raised, I've only known big cities, and so
Yeah.
this small town vibe, it's cool. And it's just like it's my friends are coming out for the Georgia Arkansas football game. They
Hmm.
think I'm full of crap. They're like, "There's no way you love it there." Like I truly, aside from all the cool track stuff, I love it here. And it's just one of those things where, but to your point, it's just trophies are the expectation,
Yeah.
and that's what it is.
So one more question, then I want to pivot to something for the last few
Sure.
minutes here. Exactly what you just said there. Trophies are expected there. I wonder how much of an effect, and it could be 5%, but out of all your training,
Hmm.
100%, 5% is big.
Hmm.
How many athletes go to Arkansas and improve only because it's Arkansas? Now, you could say that's crazy, Mike. No one just does
Hmm.
that. But because when people go to Arkansas, another program, I'm not putting down any other program. Maybe if you're a hurdler
Hmm.
and you go to Florida, it's like, when you go to
Hmm.
Florida, you expect to be an Olympian.
Right.
At Arkansas, because trophies are expected, I wonder how many kids step up because of that. Like, okay, here's the reason I say
It
that.
goes
I
both
think it,
ways. Like,
maybe that's, but I think about like a classroom. If you teach up to the
mhm.
smartest kid in the classroom, even the bottom kids will move up. If you teach
Right.
down to the lowest kid, even the smartest kid will be
Right.
not as smart. So I think about like, oh, the kids that come in there, you're obviously getting talented kids, you know.
Right.
To for the get go because you have to, but
Hmm.
there's like, oh, you know what? It's unacceptable to get second place here. It's unacceptable to get
Yeah.
no heights, etc. It's like, and if those things happen, you're right. But okay,
Right.
well, then that's the last time that'll ever happen.
Hmm.
I just wonder how
Right.
much that mentality, because mental side is important,
Yeah.
how much that mentality plays into some percentage of improvement. It's not an
No, that's a fair
automatic, not
question.
an automatic.
No, no, no. And like in last year, Coach Buck talked about it, and that's all Coach Case would talk about during our team meetings, where it's just like the only things we tend to talk about. I hope this isn't like an insider knowledge. You could probably guess. All we talk about are the championship meets. Everything
Mhm.
else is a preamble.
Yeah,
And it's just like,
I could
yes,
see
if you go
that.
do this performance, go validate your performance type of the thing.
I that
Because
that meeting I had with Buck was actually pretty instrumental too, because Buck, I remember
Mhm.
Buck, he slammed his hand down on his desk and he goes, Mike, I'm trying to put on, this is when, I don't know if this is still going on, when he was trying to do the relay meet. He's like, I'm trying to put on the world's
Oh yeah,
best
as well ago.
relay
Yep.
meet, and I'm trying to win championships, and I'm trying to put kids to the Olympic. I mean, it was like,
Mhm.
oh, that's what you think
It's
about.
it's the whole
Got
thing.
it.
Yeah, and like and
Yeah.
that's what people I mean, there's two things from outside looking in. People don't realize we're still a split program. No
Mm-hmm.
offense to the other women's
Mm-hmm.
staff, they're
Mm-hmm.
awesome, they're cool to us, but
Mm-hmm.
we're completely
Mm-hmm.
autonomous from one another.
Mm-hmm.
And then two, it truly is a team thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're not just
Mm-hmm.
a I mean, this people say, yeah, we're a sprint school now. Like we're not just a sprint school, we're not just a
Right.
distance school, not
Right.
just a jump school, not just a combined event school.
Right.
Like I said, we are not a throw school. We don't have throwing event.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the cool statistic from indoors was I think we qualified 18 athletes to the meet, 21 if you include the relays.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in the 11 events that we had athletes entered, we had an athlete score in every single event, which is wild when you think about that,
I made
especially
this.
at a national at an NCAA indoor meet. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
crazy.
world's toughest. I made this comment. I don't pay attention much to the athletes anymore. Like I don't look at the list or anything.
Right.
When I look at like the qualifiers for NCAA's, because I'm an old sprints hurdles guy, I go and look at
Hmm.
like, oh, what was the fastest time in the 60? Oh, who's got the hurdlers today? So I was paying
Hmm.
attention to that Sanford hurdler and stuff like that.
Right.
But I still, I'm on Twitter every day, so I still see
Hmm.
what good athletes are doing. When the meet goes off and finalizes and everything, and I saw a tweet or something about did you go 1 and 2 in the 800? Is that right? I know you had the
Yes.
champion.
Yep.
I was like, what's the thing about Arkansas? I didn't hear anything about those guys all stinking year. I didn't know they had half milers, and here they go 1 and freaking 2. Now again, I'm not
Well,
paying attention to it, so I'm sure,
no, and that's
but
and
it's stuff like
that
that, man. That's what I
it's
think about those
crazy.
expectations.
Yeah, like Rivaldo Marshall. So he was second in that race. He's a past NCAA indoor champion in the eight.
Oh,
His
see,
outdoor
yeah,
PB is 145 something. And then Tyrese, the one that won, he made the world championship team for Jamaica last year. He ran
yeah. See,
143.
a lot of it, I'm sure, is just
And
me
people
not
don't
paying
talk.
attention, but
Well, but
yeah.
here's the other wild thing. Casey coaches everything from the 800 down. Those are cases
Right,
guys.
right. Yeah,
You know what I'm
I think
saying?
I
So
did
it's
know
like,
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
so it's just, again, it's been a lot of fun. And the vibe on the team is just not that, obviously each team has like its own
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
personality.
yeah, yeah.
And again, like I know I'm putting a lot on myself last year, being like the new guy last year, but like the vibe
Yeah.
of this year's team is just so different because with some people moving on for various
Mhm, mhm,
reasons,
mhm.
just the vibe, like you made a comment earlier, it may have kind of stuck out where like we don't have any. I mean, you can argue there's now with the roster changes, and that can be in the segue like an SEC on the men's side, we're capped at 35.
Yeah.
Like there really aren't any donkeys on our team per
Right.
se. If
Right,
you think
right, right,
about it,
right,
like,
right, right.
and like we're not arguing, but we're having pretty strong debates trying to figure out what 27 are we going to send to the SEC meet when we're going to, or outdoors, it's a 30. Like for example, last year we only take 30 to the SEC meet and we
Yeah.
qualified 30 something to the West prelim.
Well, let's talk about that. We got like 5 minutes left here,
Sure,
and I like to, here near the end of these podcast interviews, I like to start doing kind of like a pick your brain type of thing. So you brought up
sure.
35. That's interesting to me. I was an SEC guy. I coached at Mississippi State
Hmm.
for a couple of years, and I'm an SEC homer. Nothing.
Hmm.
I always say if there's a Tiddlywinks national champion, someone from the SEC is going to win it. It's just
Right.
I think they can do no wrong. What is your thoughts that you can share, and
Hmm.
why is the SEC handicapping themselves at 35 versus 45 for the rest of the country? It's going to be hard, obviously not impossible, but
Right.
it's going to be hard for us SEC teams to beat a Big 12 and Big 10s that are going to go 45. Why in
Right.
the world?
So let me sidestep that a little bit. So I think, well, how do I answer this? So number one, just because there's 35 doesn't mean it's 35 scholarships. Just because it's 45 doesn't mean it's 45 scholarships. Where it hurts us, we
But
can't
that
park people anymore. It's the roster size
But
is
that's
what's
your
hurting us.
roster cap. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Correct.
Regardless. I
Yeah.
know everybody's going to make decisions if they're going to do one scholarship at 35 or 45.
Right.
I'm talking about just your roster. You can
Oh,
only
it's
have
hard.
35,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Right. And
And
so
I and
I
I
don't.
heard. I think this is ridiculous. I heard if you have a javelin thrower, you can't like take your third pole vaulter off the indoor roster and put the javelin guy on the outdoor. He has to carry
That's
all the
not
way.
true.
Oh, okay,
That's not
okay,
true.
okay, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Each roster is independent of one another.
Cross indoor outdoor.
Yeah. So for
Okay, okay,
example,
okay, okay,
if
okay.
like we have like four guys that have outdoor only eligibility,
Yeah, yeah,
they did
yeah.
not count against us for indoor.
Okay, that makes more sense. I can't remember who I was talking,
Yep.
but I was like, that's dumb. Like that. But
Right.
if you nail down your roster of 35 and one of them
Hmm.
gets hurt, you don't get to replace them. Yeah,
That's
that's
what sucks.
crazy,
Yeah. And so for us, but I think of it
dude.
from it kind of going back to the beginning of our conversation. I think if I can speak about myself, the one thing that makes me known, like I've developed a lot of 16-meter triple jumpers from nothing. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? So it's like we can't take the chance on the, okay, let me go backwards. If say there's a 48 footer at a high school, we can't take a chance on letting that kid walk on because we don't have a roster spot for him.
Right, right.
Like going back to Russ, okay, so what did Russ jump? I think Russ was a 45-foot 24, 3 or 4 jumper out of high school. And he ended up jumping 8 meter, or sorry, 799, never jumped 8 meters. And he's jumped 1730, so
Right,
56 something. You know what I mean? So it's like we couldn't
right,
take a chance because I saw something recruiting at a meet anymore.
right, right.
And that's, I mean, we got a couple minutes left. Like that's the other pivot is now, I shouldn't say this is a gross generality, but a lot of schools in the mix for things. There's a debate, and I'm not even going to get into it. It's like, do we recruit the highly touted high school athlete who's only run
Yeah,
high school,
I,
or do we recruit from the portal
I
off of
don't get
someone
into
that's already
that.
scored? You know what I mean? I don't
Uh,
try not to get into the weeds on
that's
that.
a big discussion point. When you call it argument of, yeah,
Right.
here's the thing that I push back on, because ultimately this is what people are saying when they say, oh, Arkansas doesn't recruit high school kids anymore. And I
Hmm.
don't know that they're saying about Arkansas. I'm just using you as an
Right.
example.
No, they
Or
do.
if, or if they say, they don't want to develop anymore. And I'm like, whoa, first of all, you got roster
You can
limits.
argue
So
that.
I
Right.
don't. No, 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 no. Here's the thing, Robin, you know this. So you hear that a lot. They don't want to develop anymore. They
Hmm.
only want they only want the made product and all that kind of stuff. That's BS. I'll use the
Hmm.
100. I always use the 100 meters as my example. If you take
Hmm.
an 11-1 male sprinter and you coach them down to a 10-5, you have done an amazing job. That's
Correct.
coaching. That's
Right.
developing.
That's your 1% a
Absolutely.
year or whatever. 1 to 2, right.
If you take a kid, there's 3 kids that have run sub 10 in high school. That's just nuts. If you
Hmm.
take a 10 flat 100-meter kid, whether he's out of high school or a transfer, it doesn't matter, and you make him a 995, you have done an amazing job. That is
Correct.
development. The
Right.
problem is we get into that, we define development as, oh, someone who was not very good and they become good or
Right.
great. We
Hmm.
forget that. Who was I just, oh my God, who was it? Who was I just talking to? Oh my God. I just had a conversation with someone, an elite sprint coach. Boy, that's embarrassing because there can't be that many, right?
It's all good.
Who the heck was I just talking? Anyway, and we were talking about, taking 995s down to 990s and,
Hmm.
1070s to 1060s. And it was like, oh, and Lance Brahman.
Oh,
Um,
hi,
yeah,
Lance.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he was just
I
here.
was like, there ain't that. Yeah, he was just at Wisconsin for the Wisconsin show, and I got I haven't caught up with him in a long time, and he was
Mhm,
talking about his stuff, and he was like, and I was like, whoa, what he's doing with Noah, that's
mhm,
development. But taking a kid, I don't know what Noah's PRs are off the top of my head, but
mhm,
taking Noah from 984 to 980, that's hard.
mhm.
That takes
Literally,
development. So
right.
I push back when I hear Arkansas doesn't want to develop. They want ready-made kids. No, Rob's got to take kids that are maybe 750 today, and he's got to make them eight. And that's
Mhm.
development, guys. He can't keep them
Right.
at 750. 750 don't do it.
Right. Well, then the argument like let you cut it off. Then
Yeah.
it's the whole domestic versus international debate. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
In,
that's a
in,
whole other thing. But it's the
until
sport.
they
It's an Olympic sport.
until they make it illegal or put a cap on it for NCAA, you're not cheating. So
Nope.
I'm like, sorry guys,
That's
that's
yeah.
they're within the rules, and it
Hmm.
doesn't matter if I agree or disagree. It's the rule.
Right.
So until they say X amount of international athletes or zero or whatever,
Right.
then sorry. I mean, here's the good
Hmm.
news. Rob's a very good coach at Arkansas. Guess what? There's a really good jumps coach at Arkansas State as well, and there's a really good one
Right.
at Central Arkansas. There are other options out there. You may
Right.
have grown up a big Arkansas fan. Sorry,
Look.
that don't mean you get to go to school to run track there. You can go to school there,
Right.
maybe become a manager or something. I don't know, but we
For
aren't.
sure.
Nothing is due us. We have to earn it all, and sometimes we don't earn
Right.
what we think we grew up being big fans because we watched Arkansas versus Georgia.
Right.
Rob, my friend, this was
That was
awesome,
fun.
man. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Um, you're amazing, man. I'm just so blessed about your journey. I was really wondering, here's what I really am impressed with you, and I knew this would be the case: your openness and authenticity. I know your car accident. We had a long conversation about that years ago,
Hmm.
and it's affected you physically and
Hmm.
mentally, and still today. You obviously are
Yeah.
way better today
Fusion
than
on
you
deck.
were. Yeah,
Fusion
yeah.
surgery this summer coming up, so
Yeah,
that's what I get to look forward
right.
to. Yeah, it
Well,
sucks.
you
So
certainly
anyway.
are 100%, 99% better today than you were then. So I wasn't sure like how much you'd want to talk about, but
Oh, no
your openness and authenticity is just awesome. I think there's going to be a lot of people. I love that you struggled at San Diego State and went to Azusa because there's people right now that go, you know what, I'm not good enough to be the coach at Arkansas one day. I didn't
Right.
run D1 track and blah blah blah. And it's like, you know what?
Mhm.
That's not the prereq. The prereq is you got to be a really
Right.
good coach, and you do have to know people. I'm not
Sure. No, you guys.
this and
Right.
that. But even if
Right.
Rob knew all those people, if he didn't know how to coach, he ain't at Arkansas.
Right.
The
Right.
vice versa of that might be true as well. He could be this great coach that he is and not know people, and he might not be there either. It is a
That's
combination,
fair.
people, but
No,
it
for
takes
sure.
both.
Right.
And I'm just grateful for you today and just
No, thanks, Mike.
the journey you've gone through. And what's exciting for me is I still think you're kind of in, even though you're my age-ish, you're a little bit younger, you lucky dog. But you,
47.
yeah,
47.
40, 50 this summer, brother.
Yeah.
Is I still feel like you're barely at the halfway point of like a
Right.
400-meter dash. You got so much ahead of you, and I'm just so excited to kind of watch from the
Thank you.
sidelines, my friend.
No, I appreciate that, Mike. Thank you.
All right, brother. Usually I don't run off this fast, guys, but I got a meeting I got to get to.
Yeah, you got to meet.
The bosses make me do my job besides this podcast and stuff. So, Rob, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you, brother. Guys and gals, thank you
Thanks, dude.
so much for listening. Join us next week. We'll do it all over again. Thanks, guys.